It's just fine. Every other day. Let's end up here.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. Uh-oh, what happened? Did I get disconnected? No, I don't know. There we go. So I can't tell if I'm disconnected or not. But we talk about guns for an hour, and unlike a lot of the other chats out there, we talk about guns. We don't just say stuff about guns. So this is a conversation. This is episode 1222. So we've been doing the show for quite a while. We just started the new daytime, noontime situation where I can't tell if we're live or not. I guess I'll have to go look over here. We just started the new noontime deal where we can start some subjects and address them here. Episode 1222. Yeah, we're still live. So, yeah, and this is the evening show. So this is the follow-up. This is the live portion of the duo. So we're live at midnight and noon. And we got to do something at the beginning of this show. Oh, dang it. I was supposed to do this at the beginning. I forgot. See if it's still too late to do this. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. If I figure out where it is. All right, so then we got barbecue jumping in. And
Evening,
good evening. And all right, so now we're back to the thing that gives you a good thumbnail when you run that thingy like that. So I'll click that button, and now we're back. So yeah, so it's just you and me, I guess. I guess doing the noontime show was an ultimate failure. It made people never come back to the live show at the middle of the night. And yeah, so it's just you and me. We can just chat about whatever.
I'm gonna say I think it's too much two-way for them. They're just in overload right now, having to adjust.
It could be like eating too many glutens. I have to take a nap.
Yep.
Anyway, so what's happening? Thanks for jumping in.
Not much. I actually just going in the afternoon show, trying to remember exactly.
I don't know if that's me, but your robot really bad for me. So I didn't touch nothing. So I don't know if you're hearing me, but your robot really bad. but I don't know if that's me or if that's you.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's probably my end.
There's DJ jumping in. Can you tell if that's him roboting or my roboting?
No, that's him roboting.
Okay, so we don't know what he was talking about. He said something about watching the early show. He said he didn't like it or something. So yeah, we'll kind of start out here. We got one viewer, so that's probably me. And like I say, it turns out the early show is a catastrophic failure. Should have never done it because now we don't have any viewers. All right, well, so we'll go through this awkward 10 minutes or whatever when people figure out that the show's live, like it is every single night for the last thousands of episodes or whatever. And you guys got any topics to chat about?
It's 2A Tuesday, so all things 2A would be great. I don't know if there's any outside news of the day, but the indoor news today was it was a better place to be than outside. It's just been rainy all day here. I got a hold of a couple of people who may want to go out and go shoot tomorrow if it doesn't snow. And I think it's supposed to be in the mid-40s tomorrow. So I may finally get to go shooting. Woohoo!
So that's good weather then?
For this time of year, it's right down the middle. As a matter of fact, most Thanksgivings you can count on snow one side or the other of the weekend. But yeah, I think it's mid-40s tomorrow. It's freezing right now, though. The streets are just shitty. Skating rink kind of thing.
All right, well, like I say, I'm trying to set this thing up so that the morning show or the noontime show, throw some topics out there. We can chat about, follow up on them, or have a 2A discussion. But I don't know, like I say, see if anybody shows up, throw something out there in the text chat with some topics or what. But any 2A topics to talk about or gun topics?
Yeah, the three guys in the graphic for the thumbnail for the show tonight. What are they carrying?
I have no idea. You have to go look at it. I guess I don't even know where to find the picture. It's on the thumbnail, and the thumbnail disappears when the show starts. So I don't know how to.
Well, one looks like Obnoxious One, maybe, and I'm not sure.
Gary, it's Clover and Gizzard.
Oh, okay.
People.
Oh, is that you in the center then?
It's Clover and Gizzard. I'm not in the picture. I don't make cartoons of myself, and no, I wouldn't.
Okay. Well, there are three dudes, and the tallest one was in the middle, so I thought maybe that was. My bad.
It was from back in the days when we would draw cartoons and stuff on these live chats. But when it's pulling teeth to get people to talk about stuff, not you guys, because you guys jumped in here, but like I say, this is supposed to be a conversation, not a. I don't know what the hell this is. So, yeah, like I say, I don't really bring a script to this one, but if we got something to talk about, talk about it.
Pennsylvania update barbecue. I don't really have any Nebraska 2A updates. I'm still looking actively on Instagram and Facebook for organizations that I'm not aware of yet, just to increase that skill. And I've been following along with several new podcasts that are kind of populating my day. My favorite destination is always Daily Gun Show. Oh, another thing I've been doing. I went back and there was a playlist of about 13, I think, videos that were Gun Show Loophole Tour vids, like live from the field reports kind of thing. And the comments are not turned on those, so I couldn't put timestamps in the comments. And they were like 90 minutes.
Turned on. Like you mean like you can see it, but the comments are turned off?
That's correct. I was able to watch like 3 or 4 the other a couple of days back in a row. I wanted to start off chronologically, like at the bottom of the list, but it wouldn't wrap back up to the top, so it kept ending, and I had to keep going back up one, laddering back up towards the beginning. But I think I made it through 5, and at least the first 5, that's starting at the bottom of the queue. Yeah, no comments. Because I was hoping to be able to, there were a couple of things. The guy who was co-hosting, was there and was taking over some of the hosting duties. Guy who had a really pleasant voice, an even demeanor, and kind of a nervous laugh. That was, but he was cool. His icon was like red and yellow, or red and orange, maybe. And I think this would have been about in the shows in the 600s. And
there's nothing with so far that anything is turned off. So I don't know.
One of them you were
have anything in 600. It has one in 699, so it must be a different playlist. But this playlist is all like in the 400s, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Well, I certainly could be mistaken. The one was definitely Loophole Tour. You were outside the.
Is it on this channel? Is it on the Daily Gun Show channel, or was it on the Gun Websites channel?
No, I think it was Daily Gun Show. The playlist was like On the Road, or Reports from the Road, and there were like 13, 15, 18, something like that.
And there's 12 videos in the Live on the Road playlist.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm usually pretty faded by the time I'm poking at those things. So my memory is really not all that great. My apologies.
You don't have to fucking apologize, man. What the hell? Like, I'm just not sure why you would see comments turned off. It's not like I don't even know how.
No, just my
way to do it though is you see him shoot.
So none of them have comments, but nobody ever comments on this channel, so that's not unusual.
On or behind the lines.
They all show comments for me, but I'm logged in. So I'm logged in.
Well, maybe I'll like screenshot them and send them to you later. But one was the when you were outside the you're across the street from the ATF, the shipping containers with all the 4473s in them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who your home host was, but I got the impression that he was also Arizona.
Well, comments are on there too, so I don't know. On the one at the ATF. I got a freaking ad. That was Bob. So he's the guy from Canada. Oh, and then there was Jimmy was in there. He's in there. He was in Phoenix.
Okay. Yeah, it's usually when I'm at 36 to 40 hours when I'm doing those, going back into the deep. So that's why I was apologizing for my confusion. How many things were on the playlist, which numbers they were. I should have just said I watched some old shit.
Yeah, and it's not as though, there's a number on the shows, but so what? Like I've done 1,200 of these shows, and in that time, I've put another 1,000 shows on the other channel, and then there's a gear channel, which I've probably put 100-something channel videos on, and then Instagram. So I don't really keep track of stuff once it's created and posted or whatever. So, you know what I mean? Like go and say, hey, this video, like, okay, great. I probably made 14 videos that day and I posted them a week later and I haven't thought about them since. And there's been hundreds since. I just don't think of videos. There's very few of them that I think of individually anymore. I think of them as sets. So I don't know. Like say this one's 15 minutes old and nobody's showing up. So I don't know if it's just a bad day. Am I getting quirked by somebody? Somebody out there quirking this show? I don't see anybody that I follow quirking.
No, Yankee's been done for a bit.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah. You're back, barbecue.
Oh, perfect.
Yankees
Howdy.
audience. I don't want any Yankees people here. the most part, Yankees audience is a bunch of people that just want to fight with people or be weird or be mad or be pessimistic. So this show is an alternative to that, to talk about things like, I don't know, theoretical two-way conversations. You've been in the good conversations here that wouldn't happen on Yankees channel. Nobody in Yankees audience is interested in, like, when Walt shows up in Woods and we have a good conversation in here. That's what this one's for. Anyway, barbecue. You've been trying to say something or something. Oh, you were.
I was.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was having some bad signal issues. No, I was just saying, right before you started, I didn't realize what time it was. I was trying to go back and watch the afternoon show again just to trying to refresh myself on it. I got a couple minutes into it, and then I got the notification for this, and I looked. I was like, "Son of a gun! It's friggin' 12:05 already." Lost all track of time. Although I did like the video you did today on any other time I could probably think of their names, but the family that made the machine gun, the silencer, and smokeless powder. I did not realize that was all the same family.
Did you say in Phoenix?
Who, me?
Yeah. Or did I just hear that?
No, am I still roboting then? Because
No, I'm trying to type and talk or listen at the same time, I guess.
Oh.
Anyway, so I don't know. You're talking about again the one from this morning. Was there a what do you call it? The calendar went up this morning.
Yeah, the calendar that you did.
That's even more. Like those I do once a month, and that's I did that a month ago. So that's definitely what's frustrating with them is I do them a month ahead of time, and then I gotta wait for everything. So it's like I know everything that's coming up in the next month because I just talked about it all to myself. But then it's just between me and the wall, right? And then I schedule those things, and then like this, you say something, and I'm like, holy crap, I did 30 of those videos in one day. What was this one about? Like, you know what I'm saying? It just becomes a mess. So it's not really all that conducive to having the conversation. That's why I was thinking doing the daytime one or whatever would cram it all, in the noontime, bring it all to focus. But I don't know. Maybe it's not working. So you're talking about the Maxims and their well, they all have the freaking last name, and then I think two of them are Percy Maxims. So it's like Hiram and something Percy, or are they both Hiram Maxim and they both got middle? Anyway, the father and the same name basically.
So yeah, the father and the son, and then the uncle.
Yeah. So the uncle's got a different name. Like his is different enough that it's easy to remember if I saw it. But the other two are like Hirams. And I think it's just the middle name, or else it's the middle name is both Hiram and it's the first name, but they're only like one of the three names that's different. And I only know that because every time I try to do something with them, like write it on a card or put it in some sort of a format, it's one of them jerks with three names. And you have to put all three because their jerk named their kid the same name. So it just screws with the formatting, like pretty much everybody else, unless there's like a colonel somebody or a doctor somebody. You get like a first name and a second name, and it's not a big deal. Unless they got a giant name. Anyway, so I just happen to remember those three. And it's also weird. I guess this is just, what is this, November? They're all crammed together at the beginning of 1 month. This isn't the beginning of a month, so this must be one of them died. I think they all get born like within 3 days of each other. So that makes it even more confusing. Because then you go out and you look on the internet and it's like, oh, this one was born. And they're like, nope, they flipped it. So they're saying the son was born on the dad's birthday, and they don't realize that there was two, and they just grabbed, they got one that was close enough, and they thought they grabbed the right one. anyway, that happens a lot. So you start seeing a whole bunch of mix-ups. I think it's their birthdays.
Yeah, what would be the father in the video you said died today in 1916, I believe it was. Yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool with everything that they kind of brought to the firearms community, because it's not like they were a firearm manufacturer per se, and you can say, oh well, they made this gun and this gun and this gun. It was the father made the machine gun, and the son had come up with a suppressor, and the uncle made smokeless powder, which obviously are three very different things. So those contributions I thought were pretty neat in that aspect.
Let's see. Ozzy's asking if Jimmy's still in Phoenix. I don't even know. I talked to Jimmy at the beginning, and I don't know what it was anymore, March or something, April. Dead Horse would know more. He was trying to help Jimmy do the early watch again, and that computer that he's working on was going to be part of that. But I don't know. And then he called me on the phone, or I talked to him on the phone, I think, and didn't really get a chance to talk too much. Or did we talk on the phone? I don't remember if it was a text or it was a pretty short conversation, whatever it was. And he said something about starting the early watch, but then I never seen it start up again. I don't think nobody's talked about it if it started up. Been a crazy year. I'm sure it put a damper on a lot of plans. All right, well, so we're 22 minutes in. I think it's just us and Ozzy. So, I don't know, is there anything to chat about? Normally, Tuesdays we would do 2A stuff like you're saying, but, the hell, we could just talk off air about stuff. And the point of this is to have a lively conversation with people jumping in. Can't make that happen, so I don't know how long to keep it going here before we head out and do something else with the rest of the evening. I guess I'll leave it up to y'all and the audience, of course, if there is anybody. I don't want to say audience, people out there, because this ain't supposed to be bleacher seats or whatever. You're supposed to be able to be part of the conversation or whatever. But if people ain't interested in that, I ain't trying to cram nothing down nobody's throat. You guys want to bring up anything else?
I've got nothing.
Hang out, hang out, same time, same station tomorrow. I believe it's Media Day.
Yeah, maybe I should start bringing some sort of entertainment to this show. Bring a whistle or something. I could sit here whistling for a little while when people show up. I don't know if people are going to show up or not. It's hard to say because you never know. You can't anticipate, but there's been days like this where it's all slow at the beginning and then kicks in. But at this point, it doesn't look like anybody's really saying nothing out there. And I hate to keep throwing it on you guys to have to keep a conversation going. So it shouldn't be labor, it shouldn't be work. Yeah, see if we had a pause button or like a commercial button, I could just throw a commercial on. There used to be a commercial if you go through YouTube Live. I don't know if it's still there, but go through YouTube Live and you're basically restricted to the YouTube platform and no Hangout, no chat feature like this where you can invite people in, no ability to put up on the screen like this. I guess I could start using XSplit, but again, I'm really not like, it's not like I'm desperate to have a conversation each night. I really just want to have the opportunity, whatever. Yeah, you can't really force people to do it. It's been here for 1,600 or 1,200 episodes. It's not like people aren't aware of it. I guess it's possible for somebody new out there who's never heard of us before, but the people that are aware of it know that it's here, and it's either too late for them, and I guess maybe they watch it later, or it's just not what they're looking for. Right now, people might just want to talk about fear and whatever. Fear, talk about buying shit. It probably feels good to buy shit. I feel like you're accomplishing something, or have enough stuff in the drawer in the closet. You don't have to worry.
Well, it's hard not to speculate, but being just a couple of days away from the turkey, maybe some folks are catching a good night's sleep tonight before they head out on the roads tomorrow, or maybe they're already on their way to Grandma's house. I know that, I spoke with my mom tonight about our plans, and we're having to revise, and we may just revise straight past Thursday and go with Friday, because I'm a smoker. I don't host at my house. She's allergic, so that would be zero fun for her. And of course, we can't go down to the ice hockey park, and because the weather's not going to be cooperative. But we're flexible like that. We're a unit of two these days, separated by an hour's drive. And she remarked, my birthday's in late December, and she said that she reminded me that we haven't even celebrated from last year yet because we just kept deferring it. What about you, barbecue? What are your family plans? I'm sorry if I can't remember what you've already told me.
No, that's quite all right. Just going over to the ex's place to have a family dinner with her and the kids. Give them that little bit of normalcy that we can every once in a while. Other than that, just going to be same shit, different day. Nothing too exciting. Got a couple birds ordered, luckily. Although normally this time of year, I'll be cooking somewhere between 8 to 10 birds for Thanksgiving. Normally make somewhere between 40 to $60 per bird. That's not profit. That's just overall. But this year, I think it's just coronavirus. People are worried about the head count rules and all that fun jazz. And I actually had one bird canceled yesterday, which luckily I hadn't gone and bought that one yet because they hadn't confirmed. But they said that they had a potential exposure to the coronavirus, so they were having to put their Thanksgiving plans on hold. So I've only got 3 birds to cook for Thanksgiving now. So on one hand, it's hurting the pocketbook. What's up?
I'm glad that some people stepped up to take advantage of your services. That's pretty cool.
It's not bad. It's still a little bit extra money in the pocket, but like I said, I think the virus has something to do with it this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to have a lot to do with post-Thanksgiving as well. I think that the weekend might be a little congested with people's concerns on potential exposures. I hope that everybody just tries to be reasonable about the whole deal, especially if you're visiting elders or fresh kids. There are a lot of those this time of year, too.
Looks like Jared's reading some sort of ATF thing they're gonna start considering braces, shouldering devices. So they're creating some new rule, I guess. I don't know. I'm not watching his thing, but we got 500 something people over there watching live as he's reading something.
Oh, well, that would explain the cork.
No, not really. Like I say, I don't think the people that the people that are watching this are Dead Horse and Moon. Well, not Moon anymore, but Dead Horse and Woods. Moon upside down. Woods and well, I mean, it's Maggie Toth anymore. Walt, and then like Ozzy's out there. The typical people that are here for the text chat. Those are the people I'm talking about. Like, yeah, you're right. It could be Thanksgiving, I guess. I don't know, or it's just there's not that many of us that want to talk nerdy about this stuff. Like Clover can only stay up if his oldness lets him or whatever. His old medications, old people medications don't kick in or whatever. Like I say, I'd put this show at night so that we can keep the old people away. But anyway, so yeah, I don't think too many of the people watching Guns and Gadgets. He's at 750,000 views or viewers or whatever. Like I'm looking at their thing. It's pretty tough to when he's got 800 now, and it's jumping to 900. So as you get, I don't know, somewhere around 300 or something people, it'll start turning into a feed that's very difficult to read, especially if there's something going on. They're all typing. So it's going pretty quick, but most of it's like we're not going to comply, and just kind of shouting in the air. You really can't say much when the chat is flying. Who's going to type when the chat is flying? Like kids, people just want. It's the equivalent of yelling in a crowd. Like why? I don't know. Because you're there. I don't know. What's the point of yelling in a crowd? Like when you go to a concert, do you yell? I guess in the middle of a song you might yell because you want to feel the noise in your chest or something, or the vibration in your chest, but I'm saying like just yelling for the sake of yelling, unless you got nothing else to do, it's not really accomplishing anything. So that's what I kind of see with some of the big ass text chats. They lose their effectiveness or whatever. And there's so many chats going by that even something really insightful or something would get lost. It's really difficult for anybody. I doubt any person's going to go by and read them. Maybe somebody doing a study or some sort of research might, like one or two people might. But anyway, that's the text chats are perfect for this kind of pace of conversation where there's a few people, we're reading the text chat. Ideally, like in this case, we know who the people are on the other side. So it's not really all that efficient watching it. Now, at this point, it's slowed down quite a bit. Even though there's 1,000 people watching, and I'm not listening at all. So you might be saying stuff that's got their attention is all. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So we're obviously going to be hitting into some new territory, and we're doing it with a whole slew of people that are not the slew of people that did it the last time around. It's all those people that did it the last time around and all the new people. So it'll be interesting to see how it all comes down.
So those AK fall decorations that you made, is that like something like raffia, some kind of palm fiber?
I don't know. It's just some weed in my backyard, some kind of vine down, and then decided to bend it into AK to make and then weave it together. So it stayed to that that shape, and then let it dry in that. Well, I guess I wove it so that it would stay rigid, and then in that shape so that it would, or let it dry in that shape so it would stay in that shape. But it's not like I don't know. I think normally stuff out of wicker is done out of like some kind of water reeds, like reeds that grow out of some kind of water plant. This is just a vine. That, I don't know what it is. It's not like a fruit vine or flowers even. It's just some vine. Not,
Was it Was it cooperative as you were working with it?
it didn't break. It was alive, so I wove it while it was alive. It wasn't so brittle that it was snapping. I was using the equivalent of like green wood.
So are you using a live template, a drawn template, or your own familiarity with the size and shape?
There's a video actually.
Oh, have you put it together?
I think so. Well, I don't know. It's not like I say, it's not like I don't know how people think things go. Like if I'm doing stuff, I'll take video of it, and then I take the video off my phone and put it on my computer, and then maybe a month later, 2 days later, hour later, 7 weeks later, at some point in the future, I'll remember I have that there or need it, and then I'll do something with it. It's something like that. So I was in here dealing with stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I took video. I didn't even remember I took video of it, and then I crammed it together and fast forwarded it when I was doing a bunch of that kind of task work. And I vaguely remember shoving it somewhere as part of a bunch of other stuff I was doing, sort of batch work. And let's see if I labeled it.
Yeah, the only gun websites media that I'm not consuming right now is everything on Parlor. I'm just letting that all stack up.
Parlor is nothing. There's nothing new on Parlor. I don't know if I like it or not.
Well, one of your early observations was how easy it would be for somebody to snipe with negative reporting or whatever. And
I said that off here because I didn't want to really talk about that on here.
Oh.
That's one of the things that is an issue with it, but I just don't like it. Number one, it's not a step forward. It's just a step, and that means it's a step sideways or a step backwards. It's certainly not a step forward. And it's not good. It's pretty clunky. I think it's off the shelf. I don't think they built anything. I don't think they created it. I think they bought it, which is a big difference. And then it's only people on it are like Republican people that are sore about the vote, and I don't have a problem with people that are Republican and sore about the vote, but I don't like anybody that comes up and is like, here's my position on something. Like, well, I wanted to know your name, but now I know your position on something. Like, that's the only thing that matters to you. Like, that's how you present yourself. You know what I mean? Like, these people are one-trick ponies, and that's cool. I'm kind of a one-trick pony, but I can still introduce somebody with my, like normal person or whatever. Like, so there's just the environment on Parlor just creepy. Not creepy. Maybe it's halfway creepy. I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. It just seems like it seems like going into the downstairs of somewhere and then hanging out with all the people who weren't invited upstairs and are sad about it. And it's not fun. Like I'm waiting to see if anybody does stuff there that's just interesting. Like I only seen one person who really posts pictures. A couple of people tried posting their reviews of gear. I'm not I don't care about gear, so I don't look for that, and I don't pay attention to that. And it looks like it's just sitting there. Looks like that stuff's laying like a lead balloon. And if that's the case, then it's not going to be like a multifaceted discussion over there. If it's just going to be a place for people to complain about politics, that's like Twitter. Like Twitter, I don't think they talk about anything interesting on Twitter. They only talk about politics, right? Or basically politics and pop culture, maybe like what people are doing or what she said or something. I just don't want to be around people like that. What am I going to do over there? Like sell stuff to them? I don't want to. That's not my job. I don't want to talk about two-way. I want to see how we can further this stuff. I want to chat with people who are looking at different angles on two-way and strategies and stuff. So I don't think if that stuff's happening over on Parlor, I haven't found it. I've followed everybody two-way I know, and they're all just sitting there. What's your guys' experience with it?
I haven't even looked at it. I just started doing the whole Instagram thing a little over a month ago, and then it seems like as soon as I started doing that, people are like, "Check out this Parlor." I'm like, "What the frick?" I just decided to jump into the Instagram, because that's supposed to be the hot thing, and I have a bad habit of being resistant to everything. So I was like, well, that figures. I waited way too long, and now I'm being resistant to Parlor because I don't learn my lesson.
I didn't jump on Instagram early. Like I jumped on Instagram when it was already established as a thing. And then like a lot of things, you jump on it, you look around, and then once enough people are there, you dig in. So I didn't even, whenever I started wasn't when I actually started doing anything on Instagram. But Yeah, that was still like 5 years ago, dude. Like Instagram's heyday has come and gone for sure. But I mean, you can't say it's the hot new thing. That's all I'm saying is that it's definitely a thing and it's not little, but it's only there because a bunch of people younger than me, but older than the kids that are going to be doing the next thing are used it, and they didn't want to use it Facebook. But anyway, so it's not like everybody just is jumping back and forth like hopscotch. Like they just had been on, a lot of gun people had been on Instagram now for like 5 years, and they're just getting sick of it for, I guess, the election.
Yeah, and the fact that I called it a hot new thing though should tell people just how resistant I am to stuff like this. Like I remember my senior year of high school, everybody was like, Facebook this, Facebook that. I was like, oh, what's that? I'm still on MySpace.
It was difficult for me to leave MySpace behind because of it, the music-centric nature of it for me. I came up with master mixes that were, between 80 and 100 tracks seamlessly mixed together. And it's how I generated a hell of a lot of jobs out of that. I just say, well, go listen to some of the stuff I've thrown up on MySpace, and people would. And I was making weddings happen left and right. So that was pretty damn cool. Usually I was on for 5 hours, made $100 an hour, spun my own stuff, and just kept the geezers going. I think aren't accounts still? I mean, can you still go over to MySpace? And I'm sure it's still there. The legacy is, but
Oh yeah, as long as you remember your login information, you can still get into everything like you used to have it.
Huh? Is that one of those things that G was talking about the other night that has no email retrieval?
What? I didn't.
Not that platform specifically, but there was something that you were like amazed that had absolutely no password retrieval or whatever. Okay.
We'll jump in. Well,
yeah. Hey, I got a funny MySpace story. I had a secretary. This was probably 2008, right when Facebook and LinkedIn were starting. And I checked her out, and she had all these topless and nude pictures of herself all over her MySpace page. So all the guys in the office were. She was pretty much the only girl in the whole office, but we were all, looking at it. It was a lot of fun. That's kind of it. But yeah, I think I still have some of those pictures if y'all want to see them. I'm joking.
anyway, I think the next platform. Well, I don't know. I don't think there'll be a next platform. I think that there'll be something different. Platforms aren't going to last forever. The internet keeps changing. Devices are going to change. So we'll probably see the next here for too long. And I'm sure with what's his face putting up all these satellites, making it easier and easier for people to get online. Boundaries or barriers or whatever you want to call it of tech. I don't know how many people were paying attention when the internet went from low speed, dial up to broadband. But that's basically when YouTube and everything existed, is because you could put video up there now and people could retrieve the video and it was useful instead of buffering, and it would take you like a half an hour to download 30 minutes, or take a half an hour to download 5 minutes worth of video or something. So the internet today is something we're all comfortable with, but it's by no means the end. It's just the part we're at right now, and everybody's been paying attention to pop culture and garbage and fluff instead of driving tech or innovation, or being focused on that. People have been content with their iPhones. They haven't been waiting for the next thing. As soon as people start waiting for the next thing or get offered something next, platforms could be the way of the dodo. But this is 2A day, so thanks for jumping in, Wild. Kind of been nursing it along here. It started out slow, and I don't know, still kind of slow. According to the number up here, it's just 3 people out there watching. So I don't know. Again, if people are out there and are looking for something. But this is a conversation, so if y'all have topics, already squeezed the blood out of the stone of barbecue and DJ. But if Will has a couple of topics, we can throw them out there.
There was a big release over with the gear website, Guns and Gear website. The SB Tactical, 23 of them were just given the notice. All but one have permission, cease and desist, putting that that they're approved. Anything by SB Tactical, it's only SB Tactical that were singled out. So they specifically named 23. Only one I could remember was the 15 has been approved, and one other. But pretty big news. There were about 1,500 people on the other channel watching that live and commenting.
Yeah, I was watching it. It was, they were commenting, but they were just saying stuff. Like it wasn't really.
Yeah, people were all talking about marching and everything else, but
It was the equivalent of people yelling in a crowd, and you type something, and then you hit enter, and you see it go by, and then you see a bunch of other stuff, and then maybe something sparks something, and you say something, you reply to something you've seen, but by the time you type it, 3 or 4 pages of stuff have scrolled by. So it's
I hate those big chats like that. You might as well just listen to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. Just you're not really. I mean, I guess if you watch enough of them, you can look at them and see that there's a difference. I mean, it's different than like a Trump one, which will just be weird. This one was a little bit more focused, but it was kind of across the board from like, that's not their job, or something kind of on point to something that's just far fetched, and then everything in between. But then far fetched in like 6 different directions.
Yeah, sometimes I watch that Timcast at 8:00 Eastern every day, and there was about 20 to 30,000 people that watch that. And man, that live chat flies. It's crazy.
Yeah, those are just that's like going into a crowd at a concert and yelling up to the audience.
Yeah, it's just like throwing BBs into a fan.
Yeah, you're just doing it for yourself. So I guess the challenge is how to go forward with some sort of direction instead of a drift. And it's going to be tough because we don't have the standard current. We've got torrents that we're not used to, and who knows what's going to be floating downstream. But even still, you can either get off the river or you can keep going. And see, we'll keep going, I guess. So it'd be interesting to see how people deal with how they gather news, how they interpret it, and then how they get it out there, how they start discussing it. For 7 years, I've been paying attention to that because that's been what I've been doing almost every single day, is being part of that. And going forward, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a new group of people, at least I'm paying attention to a new group of people, younger people. Be interesting to see how they deal with this, like getting information, dealing with it, and then, I guess, and then acting on it.
Yeah.
Use pre-chat.
So, how are we going to react if, Biden's the president and, if he starts doing executive orders here and there on everything? How are we going to react? How are we going to stand up? I mean, I plan on just not complying. Number one, I'm in a wheelchair. These were developed for, veterans that had missing arms or paralysis of some kind. So I have no intention of giving up my SB braces. I have an SB brace or tail hook on everything I own.
So their goal is to get rid of guns, and their strategy or their tactic is to go after one so that they get people, whoever's not muted, I'm getting a lot of potato chip noise or something. Whenever they're going after one thing, it's to separate something from the herd, right? So if they can separate sniper rifles, they're long range guns, they really don't have a purpose. You can hunt with a shotgun or run bow and arrow. You don't need to hunt with a gun that can shoot a car from across the street. When they go after an individual thing, then that's a tactic. It's a tactic of lions and tigers and critters on the plains, and it's a tactic with politicians and stuff. So it's nothing new. They've done it with other things throughout years. Oh, guns that have so many rounds, or guns that are this long or this short. Starting in 1934, we started taking it. We started bending over and taking it as a group. Yep. Then we lived with it. So you could go, oh, see, that's their fault. Or you could just go, okay, so I've had to deal with it, but guess what? I lived most of my life where concealed carrying a gun around, it's ridiculous. It was absurd to suggest that could be done. That was only the most unscrupulous cowards, only the most heinous of criminals that would want to hide a gun. That was the perception when I was a kid. And why would anybody question that? Until a bunch of people did question it. And then just a couple of decades later, it's concealed carry in 50 states, and it's constitutional carry in 19 states. So I'm not going to say that, what are we going to do with Biden? It's going to be something that we did with Obama, which is everybody's going to get all mad, and a bunch of people who don't want to have a conversation with anybody are going to stand there and hold their breath. And then a bunch of people who are, I don't know what to call, like the opposite of that, the people that are willing to appease and offer everything are going to start offering everything. And a bunch of people in the middle, they're going to have to do all the work, like everybody always has to do in the middle. And then, a bunch of people are going to stand there, and a bunch of people are going to flee and do.
I mean, you're right. The hunting people are going to be pitted against and say, well, I don't care. It's not affecting me. And, the bow hunters are going to say, hey, it's not affecting me. And, the black gun guys are saying, hey, it's only affected me. So you're right. I mean, we all need to stand together. I mean, so even when something happens for the hunters, even though I'm not a hunter guy, we all need to stand together. And I'm just not sure if the 2A, what people are just hunters and what people are just shooters and what people really care about 2A, and are there people that are non-gun owners that are 2A, like you said before?
I don't think I got answers, but I also don't think that there is an answer, right? I think it's going to be, enough people have to be willing to do something, and then enough people have to be willing to coach or lead the way or point or something, and then I don't know, a bunch of people should be keeping score so we know what worked and what didn't. And I only can assume, though, that it's going to get better and better. We've got so much potential this time around. In Obama, 2012, 13, there was nothing. All there was a bunch of people that after the assault weapons ban went, hee 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 hee, and started putting guns together that we couldn't have for 10 years. But nobody at the end of the assault weapons ban got together and was like, let's make sure this never happens again. We just sat around minding our business and, playing with our toys until the other side decided it was time to try slapping us down. And then unfortunately it didn't work. Well, unfortunately for us, unfortunately for them, it didn't work. But this time, I don't know.
Yeah. Back in 2008, all the tea parties were going on, and I missed one, and then I got ready to go to another one and went all downtown, took off for the day, and I'm the only one in downtown Athens. Downtown Atlanta. There was nobody else there, tea party related. I'm checking it out. I'm like, I'm at the right place at the right time, just wrong website. It was just crazy. So I realized I was right next to John Lewis's office, who was my congressman. So I went up there to John Lewis's office without an appointment, and I sat in his lobby for 3 hours before they would see me. But I took off for the day, and finally he went and saw me, and he said, the only reason I'm taking it is because you're in a wheelchair. Tell me about it. I'm like, I told him my story about, being in the VA and, having to write my senator, get my senator to I had to write my senator a letter for a needed surgery that was scheduled 4 years in advance. And they said I needed to have it within 1 year or it would uh, disable my kidneys. Just crazy stuff, to be owing and having to write and beg a senator to write the VA to get a necessary surgery. And can you imagine the whole country in that whole system and all having to write politicians and beg and plead? And, it was about that time when Kennedy died. I remember, all those people would thank Kennedy for writing letters. And so they could get needed surgeries. I'm like, there's nothing more despicable in the whole world than having to write and beg a politician for a needed surgery, So I told him that, and I think he kind of got it, but probably from the wrong end. He probably would enjoy people begging him to have a surgery and deciding who gets to have a surgery and who doesn't. Anyway, he passed away this past year, so don't have to worry about John Lewis anymore.
I don't know. I mean, we have obviously it was a very close election or whatever, but the number of people that voted or whatever still wasn't everybody in the country. I guess it indicates that it's pretty split. It wasn't like 25 to 75 or something. So I guess half the people really want a giant state, or else
So
they dig, require a giant state. They may not know it. They may not say, I want a big state, but it seems like everything that they're digging, like you say, is predicated on a giant state. And I guess I'm saying if that's half the people, then I don't think we've ever dealt with that before. I mean, there's been small minorities, vocal minorities or whatever, of like socialists or people that really want a giant different system than we got. I don't know. I guess it kind of depends if we're really at that today, or if that's just the perception that the people that need you to turn into the radio every day want you to, or read their newspaper every day or fill in the blank. Like those, it's real easy to just say, oh, the sky's falling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm here in Georgia, and so we've got the Senate, so we're being bombarded on, my text is blowing up every day, getting voicemails and phone calls and everything else. But commercials, radio commercials, every commercial is for, John Ossoff or whatever the other communist is. It doesn't seem like the Republicans got very good commercials either. They just seem real anti, but nothing positive. But when I did our voting here, it was pretty good. Went through the machine. It printed out a ballot. I checked my ballot versus what I actually put on the machine. Everything matched up. Went to go scan it, and when you actually scan it, that's when your vote is counted through the scanner. And this guy stopped me before I could get to the scanning machine, and he said, "What's your code in the bottom left corner?" And I said, "It starts with a D." And the guy next to me said, "Well, it starts with a M." He said, "You go over to the left," and told me to go to the right barrel. So right there, he separated me being Trump, him being a lefty, I'm guessing, because he had a bunch of piercings on his ears and nose. So we both went to different barrels, and with Georgia, all these people taking these drives being missing and things like that. I'm wondering if they were putting different thumb drives in on the Republican side and siphoning off votes that way. I mean, I'm sure they would not balance with the amount of people that came in. But there's got to be some shenanigans. Why on earth would they have thumb drives for a voting machine? And why would somebody have the option of taking? That's like taking the box of ballots home. I mean, how do we know they can't manipulate what's on that thumb drive? I mean, that makes no sense at all. Can you imagine being able to go home and take the thumb drive and stick it in your computer and download some kind of software and change whatever you want at that point?
Yeah, but you know what? You could also go nuts thinking about how many gross things are in food, or how dangerous bridges are, or like how much pilots don't pay attention really, or
Yeah,
like
but we had three counties in Georgia that found thumb drives, and all three drives, the majority of them were Republicans.
I'm
So
just
remember that left barrel, right barrel
yeah,
that the
you're
scanners
not
were.
you're not going to be satisfied having this discussion with me. We have a country of 360 million people. We have 50 states with 50 different governments, and we have all kinds of stuff going on. So you can definitely find instances of horrible, heinous stuff. I mean, there's horrible crimes that take place, and if someone pointed a camera at those things, it would be horrible, and you'd think there's no point in going on in the world. They don't point the cameras at all the places where, like when I was at my voting places on that morning, because I go, in the mornings, I don't do it early or nothing. I waited in line, and the times when somebody was new, a kid or whatever would come in, the old people there, because it's mostly old people and a couple of girls, were doing all the volunteering.
Yeah.
They'd go, "Are you new? Is this your first time?" And they'd go, "Yeah." Kid always go, "Yeah, new." And then everybody cheer. Well, that if they talked to us about that, then everybody go, "Oh, this is all propaganda. They're only telling us about the good stuff." So I hear you, man. I'm just trying to say, like, look, if we looked at every single crack, then nothing's perfect. We're always going to find cracks and stuff. And when we look back 4 years, are you telling me that anybody actually paid attention? At least the people that are upset right now, or like you decide what you tune into. Like you turn on the computer, you turn on the radio, you tune that dial. You decide which one to push, and you tune that that preset. So you're deciding. I want to listen to stuff that feeds this, or I want to just listen to stuff that feeds that. So whenever it happened with Hillary, I can remember sitting there watching Trump tell Hillary, "You're going to jail," and that felt good because Hillary was an effing bitch, right? Like she was just a warmonger. Like I did not want to see her become a president of our country because I was scared of what she would do, not just to guns, but to the world. Because I thought she had something chip on her shoulder for the whole world, and she was looking to take it out on us. So when he was doing stuff to her or whatever, that was great. I'm not a big Trump dude or whatever. I care less about politics for the most part. However, when all that ended, like you don't think those people were sitting there in the same boat as all the Trump people are right now? I mean, it had to be exactly the same boat. I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention, but I got to figure it had to be very, very close to the same exact boat where they were completely convinced it was stolen from her. And everybody on Trump's side was completely convinced she tried to steal it from everybody. And, it's just done deal. We know it's done. Like, we know what's right. The other side is pulling tricks. And 4 years later, the country still works. Like all, capitalism still worked. Countries didn't come in and invade us because we're a bunch of, our systems cracked or broken. So all I'm saying is that the world's going to keep going. If Biden's the president, it's going to suck butts, but it's going to suck butts, and we're going to hopefully, be strong and work together or something. But man, if it's Trump, it's not going to be roses. I'm just as happy if it's Trump. I'm probably more happier if it's Trump, honestly, because I think the economy would be better with Trump. But if it's Trump, you think he's going to be pro-gun this time around? His legacy is to make everybody like him. So, what I'm saying? He'll do whatever. He'll throw guns under the bus. It ain't a given. And he's already done weird stuff. This stuff that's happening with ATF today, right now, I still don't know the deal on that. That could just be one company. We got to be careful that one company stepping in dog poop don't make it seem like the whole industry stinks, right? So I don't know what the deal is, but whatever happened, it's Trump's ATF doing it. So he ain't over there saying, "Be damned if you're going to do that on my watch," because it's still his watch.
Yeah, but he's on the way out, and he probably doesn't want to stir up a ruckus with gun community, pro or minus. At this point, he just wants to be able to get in a court case and show there's mass fraud and 20 million votes were stolen from him is what he's looking for.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, like, are we worried about Biden? I don't know. Yeah, but are we worried about Trump? We just sitting there watching shit happen. So Trump ain't
Yep.
no way.
Hey, last night, I noticed that all the every second matter patches are glow in the dark. I didn't realize that before.
Not all of them. The ones with white like lettering. There's a couple of
Mhm.
black versions, and then the blue version.
Well, there's 3 black versions in the blue version, and then the 2A flag also glows.
So which one in black?
Um, there's black that's kind of greenish, black that's kind of whitish, and then there's the blue one, and then the black on black. It doesn't glow, of course, and then the 2A, the red, white, and blue with the blue circle in the middle of the 2A flag.
That's the
That one, yeah, that one actually glows too. Do you know that? Of course you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool. I wasn't expecting it. Well, I was expecting the one that had the greenish tint to glow, but not the others. Then I had to get out the flashlight and play with them all.
You can kind of tell when you get used to it. They look a little greener. Even the white looks a little greener because there's something in there, But you can tell when they're not, because they're super white. Like it's really, clear white or whatever. Jump down. I'm gonna go try to hit this one. So unfortunately, someone is, or Zutik, is that how you're saying that? Unfortunately, someone's gonna have to get caught with a brace in fight in court. Just be ready, supporters ever gonna defend that person. So I don't know if that's the same comment or not. I don't believe that. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that one. That's a thing that could happen, but let's see. No one's been caught with an undetectable, at least as far as I know, no one's been caught, quote unquote, I got the hiccups, with a undetectable firearm. There we go. And that thing was supposed to expire every 10 years, and they renewed. If I remember right, it went into 88, and then they renewed it in 98, and then in 2008 they let it go. But then in 2012 they turned it back on, I think. So I got the hiccups. I got to drink something. But anyway, I think that there's other options. It's not like our only route. It is a route, but it isn't our. I don't think that's inevitable, and it's not our only option.
Well, I'm thinking what he's saying there is to prove that they've been damaged, somebody's going to have to get caught with it, doing the civil disobedience thing and all that. But the one thing I do like about Amy Coney Barrett is she had dissented in one of her other rulings long before that when it comes to your rights, you don't have to have the burden of showing that you've been damaged, because it's your rights. And if your rights are being infringed upon, then you should be able to take it to court. And that could, if that's the case, and people are going to say that their rights are being infringed upon, that could come into play, and it might be a benefit.
I guess I'm saying that before it could even do anything, we could try to get rid of it so that we don't have to fight it. I guess I was not saying that clearly, I don't think. But I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that if that is an option, but instead of that, we could also just remove it so that it never has to. Like if that's a trap, we could remove the trap before someone steps in it. Because right now it's a trap. I think you're saying somebody has to step in the trap before we can say, hey, look, this is not right. This is a trap, and it's hurting people. And then take that to court. I think we can get rid of it before that through a couple of different ways. And that's one of the things that in the big picture, we have is, and I still don't have the great map of this, I don't know who to even ask to try to figure it all out anymore. But, you know, we have people that are lobbyists. We have people that are grassroots. We have people that like to raise money. We have people that, you know, do all these different specialized things. And so they start going around and seeing every hammer is a nail or every screw, right? Everything is whatever their tool is, right? So the way to defeat this is lobbying. The way to defeat this is with better water. The way to defeat this is through the court, right?
You're echoing, bud.
Yeah, really bad. So, you know what I'm saying? That's a positive because we have a lot of players, but it's a negative because without any coordination, we're just running around and we're rebuilding wheels, and we're just learning lessons. We're not even learning lessons. We're just repeating the same old problems over and over. And my fear is that because we don't have any air traffic control, we just have a bunch of airplanes and boats and helicopters and shit all flying around, and everybody's got the good intentions. Everybody's getting armed and making effective hits on targets and stuff. It's just that sometimes they're all wailing on one thing, and sometimes something gets through because nobody's hitting it. There's like no coordination. And when there's no coordination, there's no actual support. And maybe that's the way to describe this. My frustration for a while has been that when there's no support, it means there can be no lines of supply. Like if you really want to win something, if you have a campaign that you want to win, you need to know what the potentials are. You have to be ready for those potentials, trained and able to deal with them, and then have the supplies necessary, and then have eventualities, right? And if we're just running around with like chickens with our heads cut off, excuse me, gizzard, then you know what I'm saying? That's what it seems like. We're just watching, okay, here's a bunch of people with a good intention, and they're going to get frustrated because eventually they're going to either run out of funding, or they're going to find out that people don't want to support them in that direction, or they're going to, figure out that this guy's going to exploit them. And then as soon as they don't need somebody standing next to them that looks like that, they're going to let go of them. And then all of a sudden the ground's out from below them. There's all these different things, and it's pretty soon you start seeing like, oh, that's one of the problems. Like that's one of the eventualities. That's one of the eventualities. Every once in a while, somebody goes through and succeeds or whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is because we don't have anybody on our side, I'm wondering if the other side is so smart or so aware that they're doing stuff intentionally. They know, maybe they don't even know, but if they know that, hey, if we say AR-14, they just know that it's going to spin us off for like 25 minutes, right? Like if they know that if they get up and say the shoulder thing that goes up, that they're going to be famous forever. Like if they come up and say something absurd enough, they're going to be famous as a dumb anti-gunner forever. And we laugh at them, but they're laughing all the way to the top of Wikipedia. They're laughing all the way to the top of being in memes. And what happens when you're in a meme? Like, look at the people that get rich off of just having a goofy face in a meme. When a politician is in a meme, that's like free. That's like Pelosi stays in office because everybody knows her name. It's not because she's good or she cares about anybody or she's ever helped anybody. She just gets richer and richer and richer and screws everybody. She says everybody recognizes her effing name and they vote for her because she's been there. And anyway, so we're kind of, I don't want to say we're our own worst enemy. It's just that we've got that struggle, right? I don't know. You can't take a bunch of free individual and say, here's how to be a Borg, walk in lockstep. Woods is here, though. He'll solve this.
I'm going to solve it. All right. Is this a good thing because it'll make people fight against the NFA for once? Glass half.
There's that potential. I don't know. Did it happen in 13? But whatever. That was 7 years ago. So do you think the same people are around? I know for a fact that most of the people from 13, because I was there, like I know for a fact that the people that were like, I want to be famous. Like all I care about is being famous. They're famous today because they got famous from all that. They didn't stop and they attained their goal of being famous. And then there's a whole bunch of people that had good ambitions and their stuff all dried and they're gone. Like I haven't seen them in years. And then the people that were in the audiences, because I talked to the people in the audience. I didn't go to a chant. I was at 100 and something thousand doing live chats, like 100,000 something subscribers doing live chats. Most other people get to, 50,000 subscribers and then think of their audience as a different, it's metric or something. So, I was paying attention back then, and those people are not around. Here's Sandy. He's one of the few. Pink is out there. He's one of the few. Most of you know how long you've been in the game. Like, have you been in the game hardcore since 13? Not very many of us. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's not like I'm not trying to shame nobody. I'm just saying, like, we don't have people that have been in the game, and that means that those people have sat down. And I think it's because they either think we won and they're done, or they got nothing else to give, or they just think that it's pointless. Like we're all running around with our heads cut off. Now, I think if there was some sort of, like, I don't want to say Bloomberg, because I don't think it needs to be an individual with money, but if there was a coordinating system, some sort of a process that would allow everything to a mechanism that would allow things to work together, I think people would be funding the shit out of a working system, a working process. They'd make that system hum. Like, they'd keep throwing whatever resources needed to get thrown into it. Every time you see an efficient working, look at the DC project. Every time you see a good working project, people flock to it. They want to be part of a success. We just haven't. Look at the NRA. It's floundered there, right? I'm not going to watch it burn, and I'm not going to suggest it's time to give up and be a bunch of, losers and watch the thing give it to Bloomberg. But I'll recognize that it's floundering, it's dying, and it's had a leadership role. It could have had a leadership role in given direction, right? But because of a couple of 13 dudes, talk about the most anti-done people on the planet. Those effing effers that screwed the NRA over. I'm blaming it on them because we don't need an NRA, but it didn't help to have it crashed right at the beginning of all this. All right, well, I said a lot, but what's Sandy saying on here? Pink is like, I don't care about Biden. I'm worried about who's pulling his strings. Sandy's saying Biden hasn't been elected yet. See that? I'm not sure what he was talking about. They just want all guns gone. They don't care how or who it hurts. I think they actually would rather it be a rip, like a tear, and it would hurt people, because then they could say, see, we told you. And then they would get the virtue signaling, like, oh, like, I'm doing this because of all that, and I'm the one who's solving it. Like, I think they need it to hurt. If it's a surgical, like, oh, we just got rid of guns and crime didn't stop, or, if nothing changes, then did it really change anything? They need it to be. That's why they always come after chaos. They have to try to say, oh, look, see how bad it is? Just in my support to local groups, Oregon Firearms Federation, OFF. I don't know. But local support of groups, I guess, depends on how you're doing it, I suppose. Yeah, you're right. Most of the local efforts have been done without national awareness, but we have a lot of potential power out there. If we all just went local, what would we have? We'd have a whole bunch of BBs rolling around. When we all work together, I don't know what the hell that is, a bunch of magnetized BBs? I don't know what the hell that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people in Rhode Island, it's ridiculous. Like New Jersey. How the hell can New Jersey be a problem? Like, there's enough gun owners in the world to, like, you would think we could go to New Jersey and be like, you know what? We're not spending a dime in New Jersey. If every gun owner spending a dime in New Jersey for like 6 months, the New Jersey governor would probably have to be like, okay, guns are cool. You know what? They're not that bad. I'm just using that as an example, but it would probably work on like Connecticut and all those little tiny states that are tiny.
So you're saying like we all go there? I don't really want to go to New Jersey.
No, just think about all the products that are built there. If like, oh, I got a 3-hole punch coming from New Jersey, or I can get one from, Pennsylvania. Well, I'm getting that one from Pennsylvania, and I'm going to call the one in New Jersey and let them know, and call the governor. I'm just saying, if every gun owner actually gave a shit for like 3 months about New Jersey's gun laws, New Jersey's gun laws would change. I suspect.
Yeah. Is this the first time that is it different than 2013 in the, like, so the brace thing, there's a bunch of industry, like SB Tactical is going to have to do something, or they literally don't have a business. So are they going to get lobbyists and whatnot to be on our side to get rid of the NFA?
Well, that's just one company. I mean, that's capitalism. I mean, when the wagon wheel industry, we didn't keep wagons and horses around because of the wagon wheel industry, right? We said, okay, you're going to lose your industry because there's cars now. So they created an industry based on somebody came up with an invention that, was worked within the law or whatever. And then at some point they're like, oh, wait a minute, we changed our mind on that. Now it doesn't work within the law. That's what happened to the freaking bump stock. They're out of business.
True.
I mean, all I'm saying is the government don't care if a business goes out of business. They're like, whatever, you shouldn't have been in business, I guess. But I don't know. And that's the other thing is, do we know if it's, I only barely was
I read the
watching.
same article you did for Maryland, probably.
No, I didn't read nothing. That's the thing. I just watched the video as what's his face was live. So I only was watching the fact that the comments were going by at a blazing speed. And you couldn't really read them. And then, but really, Will jumped in and gave me a synopsis of it, in which it sounded more like it could be the same thing with like one company is getting told, hey, you did this wrong, or like, hey, quit it. We don't like you.
It does seem like more SB Tactical is the lightning rod, and they actually printed, that this was approved and put it on their boxes and packages. I think that's the main problem.
Right. And when that happens, and then that company can stand up and say, they're doing this to the industry. If we don't have a version of Snopes and we just always, when then we're the kid who cries wolf, right? Like, oh, they're coming to get us. Oh, they're coming to get us. Oh, they're coming to get us. And then what happens? Everybody quits listening because they're not coming to get you. They were coming to get that company because they did something. And I'm not dismissing it as that. If this is the beginning, then we need to be aware of it. But that's sort of the thing. Like, how do we create a system where, all it really takes is think about all the people that or however long you've been hanging around gun channels or these types of conversations. Think about all the people that are like the first people to get upset and like, oh my goodness, it's an outrage. This is an infringement. Right. And we all get together. And then there's the people on the other end who are like, oh, this is nothing. This is nothing. Don't worry about it. This is nothing. Guns aren't that big a deal anyway. So, if we just put all those people in some kind of order, all the people that are the most worried up front, let them pay attention to everything, and then disseminate that to another group who's like just a little less worried, and then they'd look at everything and go, okay, these are the things that we determine are a little more the most important of whatever they're worrying about, and then that keeps going up until you get to the people at some level who are like, here's the 4 things that actually matter this week, and since these things have been on our radar for the last 3 weeks, they're important, and this one's new. Like if we get some kind of report like that, so then people could say, look, I'm not going to take it no more. Then you could say, hey, get up in line with those people up front. We need you up there for like the daily threat, like get up there and worry about everything daily. And then if you're like, you know what, I'm not all that worried, get in the back and worry about stuff on a monthly basis. Maybe that's how we do it. You get some kind of tattoo, like how 2A you are. Like if you're super 2A, you go up front, and if you're not that 2A, you go in the back.
Have you ever heard that guy from Palmetto State talk about, the reason he does all the cheap guns is so he can get as many ARs out there, because the more ARs out there, it's commonplace, and it's much more difficult to outlaw them if they're all, if there's 100 million of them versus 1 million of them. I'm wondering if that SB brace is also in that same category now that, I don't know if there's 1 million of them out there or 15 million braces out there, but I'm guessing it's well over 1 million.
Well, as soon as the braces happened in 2012 or something, all I've ever thought about is that the first one was precedent for getting rid of the NFA. So now it's 8 years later, and we're worried about yet again if we can shoulder it or not. It's a failure, 100% a failure on our side to not have seen this as the best opportunity we've had since 1968 to remove the NFA, because everything about the brace shows that nothing about a short rifle and nothing about any of that matters. So I think it's you're right. It's definitely the number of them or whatever, but also the time on the clock. Like there's 100% precedence. Like you got no reason to restrict or govern or legislate or register these particular items. And it has nothing to do with anything. It's just like, period. You have no reason to. They've existed now for 8 years and there's no increase in crime.
Right. And nobody's even talked about the short barrel shotguns, that are.
Yeah, same thing. Exactly.
I have one
Same
right here. The little Black Aces one. I bought it specifically so the NFA could piss off.
You've got the Black Aces?
Yeah, little Black Aces mini that if I take the brace off, I have a short barrel shotgun. So I'm in a kind of a quandary there because I can't take it off because it wouldn't be the right length overall.
Because I've got the Remington semi-automatic that's kind of like the Black Aces.
Yeah, so you're kind of in the same boat.
Well, mine has the bird's head grip, so it's 26.5 inches long, so it's not a firearm. I mean, it's a firearm. It's not a shotgun.
Is that the next thing that the ATF would screw up?
But they could.
They
could.
I'm not saying I'm not at all the sky is falling kind of dude. Just to throw it out there, it just makes me wonder.
Yeah, my point was it's skating around the edges, the fringes of it. The opposite of a pistol. I mean, who's holding out a pistol that weighs 6.5 pounds?
Well, who says you got to hold up a pistol? There's contenders, Thompson contenders, which are basically rifles that have like 10-inch barrels or something, and then no stock. And I think those are mainly for like if you're going hunting for sheep or something, you got to climb up a mountain. It's all rugged. You just carry that much smaller gun, and then you basically lay down and shoot that thing with your knees. What's stopping somebody from doing that? Like, who's going to tell somebody? Because somebody might misuse that, even though they've been around since the 70s and no one has. Because of that, nobody can have a rifle that's 1/2 inch bigger than 1/2 inch of this one. It's ridiculous. So these are arbitrary, stupid rules from back in the day. And like I said, the fact that we haven't challenged them is just I don't know. If you got to blame somebody, you got to blame Wayne LaPierre, because a strong NRA would have created an environment that would have allowed people who weren't satisfied with the status quo to have done something. But because of a weak, large organization, we've had major attacks, which have required us to focus our attention on defense rather than offense. And that's not 100%. I'm not dire, because we have changed the playing field. We have CCW in 50 states, like I said before, and constitutional carry, an unprecedented number of states that no one would have ever even considered 10 years ago, 15 years ago. It would have been insane to suggest such a thing. So it's not like we're losing, but we could have had so much more.
Right. I've been shooting, I've been collecting guns for years, but I didn't know there was a whole YouTube side of this until COVID hit. I never knew anything about YouTube prior to 2020. We never saw a gun video prior to 2020.
Well, you just don't use a computer as your main entertainment. You use like a TV or a radio or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm in that category too. Whenever I joined gun channels, like 2017, 16, something like that. I don't know. No, it couldn't have been that long ago. 18 maybe. Same reason I didn't spend a lot of time on the internet.
Unfortunately, the people that are in circumstances similar to y'all's is screwed, because going forward, there's just less and less potential to make any kind of income catering to the new people who haven't used the internet before, because for a while there, that's all there was, obviously. And then for a little while there was, the new adopters and blah, blah, blah. And then, the people that have to, and all that bell curve goes. But then for a while, even at the end, as gun people, we just, particularly gun people, were late adopters. Like they got to become dragging and kicking onto the internet, let alone the platforms and stuff. So for guns, yeah, we had sort of an advantage, I guess, in that respects that, we could lollygag around and take forever. It almost had to happen because there's not enough gun people that were techie to make it worth anybody's while. But anyway, because of that, that lasted, I don't know, that's gone though. Whatever that little lump was, probably coincides with when YouTube got big. But anyway, that's interesting. It's super interesting. I personally am super interested to hear that that's still a thing, because I kind of figured that was, the albatross at this point, like a very rare breed to find somebody who hasn't used the internet at all and coming online. But like I say, unfortunately, I don't think you're going to find too much stuff that caters to that. Most of the stuff is going to be to kids who not only are online, they're online and being weird. Like they're online
every day. Yeah.
we just don't care, and it's odd and it's stupid. So they're getting stuff catered to them that I just don't understand. Plus, I mean, you think like, what the hell's the word? Like when somebody goes into a restaurant and they expect there to be like cloth napkins, and they're like, oh, like that's how pretty much kids are when they see something online. It's got to be, catering to their every little, like, oh, it's got to be fancy and moving and blah blah blah. And it's, they can't deal with the fact that it's being shared with a bunch of people on the line. It's got to be fancy and keep up with the Joneses and stuff. So I think there's a lot of like whatever we had issues with television, and how our grandparents thought of us with television is how these kids are with the internet. So I really just don't know anymore what it's going to end up looking like here in the future. But I suspect it'll be something where a lot more like Star Trek, where we wear something, either a watch or some sort of a Star Trek looking communicator, maybe something like glasses.
I think
Depending on your people, right? Like somebody who doesn't need glasses might not want to prefer glasses, but they'll figure out something to get the interface into our eyes, into our heads, because that's easy. All I got to do is put a contact lens on or something. Even a visor on a hat could project into our eyes or something easy. And then just throw in so much more data. So anyway, there's going to be something interesting that we don't need this stuff that we're carrying around anymore, except for when we need something to show somebody else or leave something behind. And probably more often than not, it'll be some kind of electronic fingerprint more than a piece of paper we leave behind.
Aren't they looking for a way to have your brain directly connected to some type of cable?
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's some really neat stuff that I've seen, and if I'm looking at it, it has to be old, but it was having to do with accessibility and replacing limbs and that kind of thing, and how to power an artificial prosthesis and that kind of thing. And yeah, the tech there is definitely going to lead the way, and they'll figure out like, oh well, heck, if you can wiggle your fingers, then that's the same as being able to, it won't be a keyboard. It'll be more like probably something like a dice. You'll be wiggling 2 dice in your brain, and that'll be, some sort of a way to type. At least that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
And then again, we'll just see something. I don't know. Maybe you'll just put a crystal in your mouth and that'll vibrate up. Have you ever had them speakers where you just wear them and they're really nice speakers, but you can still hear everything? Like it'll be something like that. They'll figure out some way to hack into our nervous system, and it'll be.
Have you ever seen the people with the cochlear implant? The deaf people that have that thing put in behind the ear.
They're permanently in them, and then they just have to put like the battery or something on the outside.
Yeah. So I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, and he had a simulator what he hears, and it just sounds like kind of muddled speaking. But he said your brain really picks up quick. You can't quite hear stereophonic and those type of things. Those nuances, tones, and certain things. But he goes, it really is impressive. Being completely deaf and be able to be a talk show host and be able to hear himself speak and be able to hear others speak. It's pretty incredible.
There's a really neat thing I saw that I'm trying to remember now which sense it was, but I think it was maybe it was vision, but I can't remember. It was something though. Let's say it was vision because I can't remember what it was. But they would hearing. I don't know, whatever it was though. They would put this jacket on somebody, and it would basically touch them, like have a pressure thing on their back, and I think it was their back, or maybe it was a hat, and it was on their head. It might have been on. It was on their head. It was on their forehead. It was originally when I was watching the thing. Originally, it started on their back, and that's how they figured it out. But then they moved it to the hat. Basically, though, imagine if someone was touching your finger or touching their fingers on your palm of your hand for like Braille or for touch type or something like that. Eventually, if somebody was always tapping their fingers on the palm of your hand, and that was like ABC or some sort of words and stuff, you wouldn't think of it as tap tap tappity tap tap. You would think of it as hello there, how are you doing today? And that's what our brains do, exactly what you said. So this thing that I was watching is they figured out at some point, like instead of trying to make you see color, why don't we just let you feel color? And then, like you said, your brain figures out it. In other words, what they were trying to do is replace like an eye or a nose or an ear. But what they figured out was the brain is basically like a giant USB port. And you can unplug a nose, but you can plug back in an ear, and it'll figure out how to listen to smell, because it's always listening and always interpreting. And like you said, if it's going to get stuff in black and white, then fine, it'll see in black and white. If it gets stuff in binary, then fine, it'll think in binary. But it's really neat. So yeah, we could, with that tech, I mean, you could basically figure out like, oh, I want to see in Star Trek, like I want to see in ultra light, or I want to see in microwave or something. And all they got to do is plug in a new brain that, it's not going to look like what we see, but your brain will start to interpret it, and you'll see, just like radar, you'll see the images or the whatever the resolution start to appear in there.
Yeah, they have the exoskeletons now that are available for veterans, and so I don't think, my area of paralysis starts at about my nipples down, so I doubt I'm in the run for it. But like you're saying, I don't know how I would control it, if it'd be off my chest muscles or how I'd control my legs. But it's pretty neat to wonder about.
Oh yeah, when you listen to some of
the Neuralink from Elon Musk, what he's working on.
What's that?
The Neuralink, where the same guy that's launching crap into space today, and we're like, didn't even make the news. Launch some more satellites. Watched it earlier. Yeah, and they landed. That's always the impressive piece.
The best is like, oh yeah, we landed all 3 of these, and this one's landed like 5 times already. Like,
I didn't even realize when they launch satellites, they launch them all together, and then over time they go to the right orbit. So for now, they're all kind of pretty close together. So they just wait for gravity to pull them to where they need to be. And then eventually the guy's going to have one. So the internet is on everywhere on Earth. So we can't even predict what that'll do.
Yeah, imagine when there's internet all in the ocean.
I thought satellites were set at a certain height. I didn't know they found their own height.
I'm saying the nerds did the math. They're all moving at a different rate, but they're all fairly close together right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then they eventually go into whatever orbit they're supposed to be. You'd have to talk to the nerds. I don't know how they do it. I just watched it earlier today, and when they launched it, they said that eventually they will settle into the orbits they need to be into.
In other words, then they don't just like waste a bunch of energy bringing up fuel so that they can launch them right to where they need to be immediately. They're like, they just kind of tossed them, and then they are programmed to eventually use very little effort to get to the giant orbit. Because they're going to be like a grid of satellites, very low orbit, right?
But yeah, I think they kind of go toward by size and weight somehow, because they have the LEOs, the MEOs, the low orbit are called LEOs, the mid orbit are MEOs, and then
those are all of his are low orbit.
Okay.
He's going to have 40,000 of them. That's what scale this guy thinks at. So my point is like, if he says he's going to do a Neuralink, and literally he said they'll drill about a quarter size hole in your brain and then wire your brain. And people like yourself and like my uncle that's paraplegic, that potentially could he rewire the whole brain? That's what he's working on. That's why he wants to develop the technologies for disabled people who wire around some of those problems. That's what he's going for. Can he do it? I don't know, but he's also the guy who's trying to grow weed on Mars. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it was kind of profound when he realized that to go to Mars, taking 5 years to go and come, basically there's no return. Is kind of what he surmised. I think it was about a year ago.
Right. And they've got a shit ton of people signed up to, even if it's a one-way trip, they'll still do it.
That makes me think when you hear about something like that. Think about like the Wright brothers doing their flying around, or I don't know, I guess like all air stuff, but maybe what's his face driving around in a car. When you think about that stuff, unless you're a super nerd, I think you don't really think about the politics of the time. Like, you know that Lincoln won, and I think there's some, like occasionally you'll remember a presidential thing like that Dewey or somebody, like because they printed newspapers wrong and they thought the other guy was going to win. Like, except for those weird like instances, maybe from a movie or something where we are reminded of them, like in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like remembers politics. And the thing is, if you really start looking in, like I think maybe that one show about the presidents that I watched is probably the thing I've seen the most that talked about presidential history. Like some of those presidential elections back in the day were like horribly mean to each other and just tore the country apart. And nobody remembers that stuff because I think we're just sort of, it's like being in a bar fight. Let me put it that way. But anyway, I'll get back to that. But basically, I think that's the thing is like we think about something like the Wright brothers or whatever, and we don't think about like, oh, and that's when there was like a horrible political election followed by another horrible one, and then a whole bunch of calm ones, and then eventually nobody cared because the issues of the day were gone, right? Like you think about the Wright flight, or you think about the car, or you think about the light bulb, because those last, right? So right now, I guess what I'm thinking of is we're not even paying it, like you just said, nobody's even paying attention to those satellites. But think about our grandkids. They're not going to be like, oh, remember Trump and Hillary? They're going to be like, oh, I think there was presidents, but do you remember when Elon Musk put all those satellites and then no one got lost in the ocean again? Like that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like we're living in that time. But the media is trying to make us all pay attention to this, and people are choosing. I mean, the media is going to do whatever. They could tell us that yellow shoes are made out of fire. What the hell? They could say anything they want. But if people are going to tune in, people choose to tune into it, that's where we're killing ourselves. Like we're wasting our time by just constantly being concerned about these couple of dozen people and what they say or do. And yeah, sure, they have a lot of money and they do stuff, but come on, really? We can get past that.
Go back to the bar fight. What was that one?
Bar fight?
You said you were going to go more into the bar fight, and then you went a different direction.
Dang, I was thinking of something there, and I don't know what the hell. Where was I going with that?
Oh, I was just hoping you were going to give us a good bar fight story.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying, what was the topic there? I forgot what tangent I was going, and I didn't want to get caught on the other tangent that that
the same thing you always preach. Gee, it's like don't go with whatever the media tells you, kind of thing. Like the whole point of this show is to not talk about what everybody else is talking about.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Is that I think that's kind of where you're going.
Probably. It's late and I'm trying to read, and that got me off. But that was mainly I was trying to not lose the one topic by going off on that tangent. But yeah, no, I was thinking I can't think of it. Pink's saying a bunch of stuff, and then these guys are talking about being in the chat for a long time. So I was just going in 3 different directions there. So going back, he was saying they're half as high as the other ones. They only have 1 solar panel compared to 2. That's interesting. 60 to 80,000 satellites. That's how many exist, you mean, or what?
No, he's going to try to launch to do his network.
Wow. But yeah, I have heard that it's supposed to be like everywhere. That would be interesting. Although
But
you
these
think
are
sending them up.
ultra low, though, right? I mean, these are very low satellites, aren't they?
He's saying half the height of a normal one. So that would be You'd think they'd fall down all the time. The train will stretch out, reach around the Earth, and then each will use a small burn to stop in orbit.
Oh, there you go. Thank you, Gabriel, whoever you are. And, you know, we don't have to worry about them getting out there because we always have Space Force to help. Is that still going to be a thing now?
I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on if everybody decides to keep doing it, if they want to leave the task with NASA or if they're going to continue to call it something different. Yeah, see, I don't get it. What the hell? I'm trying to remember what the hell, because I did have something there. It wasn't all that amazing. I just had another tangent. I just figured it'd be distracting if I went off in too many tangents there. But as far as that, I don't know. I mean, we had to pull the Air Force out of the Army Air Corps, and then you still got the Navy running around with airplanes because they didn't feel like letting the Air Force do it on their boats. And then, I don't know, what are we going to be doing in space? If we're going to be doing a ton of shit in space, I guess, we're going to have like space stations and stuff, then I guess that's too much for Air Force. I think Air Force is about to be, mostly drones, right?
Have you heard about they're supposed to land back on the moon this year? And I think China's supposed to land on the moon this year as well.
I don't know about us, but China or somebody was trying to.
I don't know if the China one's manned. I think it's like the one they did, last year? Where they sent something to the dark side? I think it's robots. But I could be wrong.
Have you ever seen that video of Neil Armstrong talking about we never need to go back to the moon again? That was kind of a eerie, weird incident, the way he was so angry and almost afraid of it.
Yeah, I was at a thing one time with, I think it was him. And it was a really small venue. Like it was 24 people at the most. I was young. I was in Civil Air Patrol at the time. So I got to go to this thing where he was being interviewed. And somebody had asked him something. And I honestly can't remember at the time, because at the time I never had heard about any controversy at all. Like I'd never heard of any kind of controversy with anything. And somebody asked him something, and it wasn't about aliens, but it was something to the effect of like kind of challenging the validity of the whole thing. And he got pissed as shit and left. And I was like, wow, I never even imagined an astronaut getting pissed. And then that kind of was, whenever I started learning about all the different conspiracy theories and stuff, I thought about that. And I'm like, I don't know how to take it. Like maybe just since the 60s, maybe he's been listening to that shit and he can't stand it. Can you imagine? Or yeah. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine if you're fake and then you're that old, because this was still super old whenever that was, way after the actual stuff happened. But if it was fake and now everybody else knew it was fake and they decided to go live a normal life because they couldn't keep the lie going, but you're the guy who's going to run around, keep making a point, tell everybody you meet that you're the astronaut guy, then you can't get upset when people challenge you on the fake thing. You just got to eat the fake thing, right? Because you're still making money off of it. Like you'd think that guy would never get phased if it really was fake, because he'd be in so deep. He'd be like, yeah, whatever, it's fake, sure.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So if it really was a fake, he would lose everything if he admitted to being fake. So he's so involved in it being real that he's stuck. Yeah,
like he'd be all in. But I would think that he would have never got it in the first place if he didn't know you'd have to be. I don't know. I just don't think he'd be surprised. Like you don't go, oh, I'm going to fake going to the moon and then be like, oh, I didn't think people would get upset about it. Like I didn't think people would really care.
I thought they'd forget about it in 5 years.
But the thing is, I can't imagine how it could be fake. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Well, with the fact that we can bounce lasers off the stuff they left there, and to this day,
exactly,
it's kind of a problem. But something went up there.
Yeah. I took photography in high school, and our photography teacher, coach kind of guy. He said, "Yeah, I know where 3 Hasselblock cameras are. They're free. You just got to go pick them up." And we're like, "Oh, 16-year-olds. Yeah, where are they? They're left on the moon." They left them behind.
Like any conspiracy theory, there's just way too many people involved for everybody to like be in on it. Somebody somewhere would have said something.
On the other hand, have you ever seen the pictures of the factories where the SR-71s were made?
Yeah, but I mean, some of the SR-71 that was secret. But I remember having a model in the '80s that was called the Blackbird.
Oh no, I hear you, but it was made in the 50s. And
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was the Stealth.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, well, there was one of those models. At least the story says that somebody just guessed, and then they guessed really good. Like I think that's the story of the Stealth, but it might be one of the others. I'm pretty sure it was an airplane. But they basically were just like, you know what, I'm going to make it curvy like this, and I'm going to make it curvy like this, and because.
Well, I mean, it would say that if you knew anything about like the mathematics, I'm not one of them. The mathematics of how you need to make that.
Right, exactly.
It's just math, so you
all
can
they
figure
did
it out.
take it to the extreme. Like if I didn't have to worry about it, like if I could make any material, like if I had the materials to make anything I could, then this is the perfect plane. And then it just kind of came out. But I'm just saying that when I seen a picture one time, fairly recently, of the SR-71 factory, I never realized that they made like 5 of them at a time. So it's a massive, massive building. And it's basically each one is just sitting on the floor like a giant hangar. And they're bringing the parts on different machinery to the chassis. So like, there's these big chassis in different stages of being built, laying there, but there's, I don't know, dozens of people on each one, fiddling with it, putting it all together. So giant machinery dragging big pieces and engines and stuff. And then, like say, dozens of people maybe fiddling with some little section here or something. So it just had to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in a giant building. Nobody said nothing for decades. So I'm just saying it could be a pretty big operation and still be completely, top secret or what.
Do you remember in 1980 when I think it was Time Magazine released the Star Wars Secret and how we leapfrogged technology and had those bolts that would shoot missiles down? The whole 1980s Reagan thing. Anyway, I remember reading it. I think it was Time Magazine or Newsweek, one of the two. It was real interesting. It was on the cover, kind of the exact opposite. Here we were bragging about something that we hadn't created at all.
I was just coming onto the scene of politics when Star Wars happened. That kind of Star Wars, Reagan Star Wars. And
yeah.
That's probably one of the things that got me perked up, because I was like, Star Wars? And then I'm like, oh, they're just talking about news. Wait a minute, how come they're talking about news and Star? It's one of the things where I think I started waking up, because I was just not quite a teenager, I think, when all that was happening.
Yeah, so I would have been 15 in 80. And so I guess that was the very beginning of Reagan. So I went in the Army in 84. So somewhere in those first 4 years of Reagan.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known. I was 9. I was busy with slingshots and stuff.
So that's interesting. And that's something that is definitely gun related. So Gabriel's saying, my question is, individual citizens have the right to have armed robot security, autocannon sentries, here we come. That's a good point. Already, I have a drone. Well, I had a drone for a couple of months, maybe a month, and then I sold it. But while I had it, I never even do it. But while I had it, I registered it with the Drone Commission of the government or whatever it's called, and it was like $5. But I figured I'd rather get the license plate on my drone if I ever dropped it, because I'm not good at flying it and never even flew it. But if I ever dropped it somewhere, I'd rather have the license plate on it than have to explain why I didn't have my license plate on it. So I complied. And then now they're saying, let's see, I forget how it actually goes. It's something to the, I'm not 100%, but it's something to the effect of if it's a little tiny drone, they don't really care. But if it's a drone like over a pound or something, then you got to get the license plate. And if it's over, let's say 5 pounds or some other number, then you have to have like a real license to run it. And if you're making money, you also have to have, and it might be the same license, I don't remember, but the license is, or at least it uses an actual book that pilots use. It has to do with when pilots are near an airport, like that part of the pilot book or test or whatever, from what I understand, is what's in the drone stuff. So you have to learn actual airport procedures and stuff, mainly so you don't go screwing up with an airport, I imagine. So they've already made these like infringements on drone ownership, and it's already against the law to put a gun on a drone. So if they, when they start making that dog thing, I remember, did somebody say before this or is it after this about that dog, right?
Yeah.
That robot dog that runs around.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already seen that. I know where I can buy that thing. I forget how much it costs. I can buy one of them that fits in your hand. I'll go look and see how much that costs. But it was more than I would already have it if it was cheap. But you could buy the dog, that little robot dog thing. So that means that pretty soon you're going to be able to buy the full size robot dogs. And that means they're going to sell, you know, a robot dog that carries stuff around. They're going to make a robot dog that pulls stuff more. You know, they're going to make a robot dog that races. They're going to make a robot dog that hangs out and you like cuddly and like a baby Yoda. They're going to make a robot dog that sniffs out bombs. They're going to make a robot, everything that dogs do, they're going to make robot dogs 5 minutes later. Like, why wouldn't, as soon as they start doing that, like, why would anybody want a drone when you could have a robot dog? I mean, done. And then as soon as there's robot dogs, I don't know why we ain't gonna have robot monkeys and robot snakes and all kinds of robot stuff. But anyway, them robot dogs. Okay, so you can't put a gun on a drone. Then I'm guessing they're gonna say you can't put a gun on your robot dog. And if you can't put a gun on your robot dog, you can't put a chainsaw on it. You can't put a jaws that bite. Right, you can't put a poison teeth on it. Laser, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. And then what do you think? The police aren't going to have all that shit on their robot dogs? So I don't know. Does the Second Amendment cover robot dogs? And I want robot monkeys. So,
well, what about things that are legal, like mace? Can you put mace on a robot dog?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Is
Pepper
that going to be considered a weapon? Because hell yeah. I mean, I don't know if a robot dog would be the best place to put mace, but potentially in some situations that might be the way to, you know, to have it.
Well, I mean, if I have a robot dog and I want to go send it out on patrol in my yard, you know,
no,
definitely.
Exactly, yeah. And if a real dog or like, I don't know, just a general bad guy came around, you could do that as like a defense thing. So anyway, there's probably lots of reasons why you could put it on there.
Could a robot dog bite?
Well, that's what I was saying. You probably couldn't. If you can't put a gun on a drone, then why would you be able to put a robot, you know, what would you call that? Like a trap? Or, you know, basically a trap with jaws? Or I mean, with
you know, like you could just clamp on the guy's leg or pants, you know, so he can't run off. Or
would it legally be the same as having a bear trap in your yard?
That's what I'm saying. If you had like basically a bear trap attached to a robot arm on this big heavy robot dog, and it would run over and smash it against somebody's arm or leg and then just drop to the ground as a dead weight, like a real dog would do. Like that's basically what the Rottweilers are taught to do, right? Not to destroy the arm, but just to hold the arm and you're not getting it back. Like, I'm going to hold this arm and I'm going to sit here. You can do whatever you want, but I'm going to have this arm when my people come. And the robot could do exactly that. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be a thing before we know it. And we're complaining about all of this. I did a series of videos on shooting robots, not robot dogs, but just robots in general. And everybody thought I was just kidding or whatever. But I'm saying, like, you think cop robots, like at 209, like you think that they're not going to build robot dogs with all the stuff that, like, if they could send 12 robot dogs into a riot, why wouldn't we want them to send 12 robot dogs into a riot and disperse a cloud of stuff as opposed to, I don't know, doing like a hand grenade gets thrown back at the cops or something? And if they're going to throw 12 robot dogs out there, they're going to make it so you can't touch the dog or grab the dog or steal the dog, right? They're going to do something to it that makes it so you can't do all that.
Sure, electrify it or something.
Yeah.
Well, the only ones we're going to get are going to be branded. So that's why I keep saying Disney branded. I want my own Darth Vader that also vacuums my house.
Who was the one that they made it an iRobot? They made it a name, didn't they? Like iOmega or something?
Yeah. But it'll be cutesy. Like it'll be like our friend. You'll get your old Baby Yoda that follows you
Are
around.
you kidding me? Baby Yoda is basically the hockey puck. What's the name of that? You know, they keep changing the name of that girl hockey puck that people buy that listens to everything you say. Like that's just the new version of that. Like, oh, no, like I didn't buy the yellow hockey puck or whatever, the white hockey puck that you're supposed to buy. It listens to everything you do. So, you know, like, oh, maybe we can get the people that don't have a hockey puck yet by giving them a little Yoda doll. And they do have little robots that walk around and hang out with you. Like not the robot dog, but it's more like a Segway with a laptop on it, or like a Segway with a tablet as a face. And you wake up and it's there and then says stuff to you and tells you your email. It follows you into the bathroom and tells you stuff while you're taking a shower or whatever. And then, you know, it's just like a maid without arms and just follows you around and says stuff at you. Like, you know, it's like having a laptop follow you around.
It's too weird.
So they've
I
already
don't
got
think I'd want one in the shower with me.
well, you know, the bathroom. But as soon as they made a little version of that for kids, I guess. And you know, all you gotta do is put Baby Yoda rubber on it. Now it's a Baby Yoda robot that listens to everything you say, reacts. Like it reacts cute when you buy something. So people just start buying stuff to make it Baby Yoda cute.
Especially Disney stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you buy something from like some other company and it frowns. It makes like you sound like cat, and then people are like, oh, I'm not gonna buy stuff from there anymore. Skunk Works is in Burbank. I don't really know. I just saw a picture one day and it blew my mind because I just kind of assumed that they built like one blackbird at a time, like underneath some, you know, some basement of somewhere.
I did too. I didn't realize they were building 5 at a time.
I like Gunmetal's idea, but I don't think he needs the money.
Space. Wait, was it? No, what was it called? Salvage One. Did you ever see Salvage One?
God, it sounds familiar.
So it was the guy from.
Was that Andy Griffith?
Yeah, it was Andy Griffith, and he was the crotchety old gun junkyard owner. And then I forget what happened. And so basically what you said, somebody said like, oh, if you want a whole bunch of free stuff, it's on the moon. They just left it laying there. So he takes his junkyard and makes a bunch of, basically welds together a bunch of 55-gallon drums and then sits in front of it.
It was a cement mixer was the main fuselage, right?
Okay, yeah. It's basically junk. He welds together a bunch of junk, sets it next to an antenna, and then like that launches into space. And then basically it's like, well, nobody told us we couldn't, so we just did it. And then about halfway up, NASA's like, okay, I guess we're going to help you. And he goes to the moon, and they grab all the stuff. I think they come home and successfully loot the moon. Pretty good. It's called Salvage One. I found it on YouTube. It doesn't really hold up. It was good at the time because it was like, hey, I'm going to go.
Did they take off like on a Commodore 64 and they needed a bigger computer to land it or something?
It's not good.
You're a robot, and G.
Sorry about that.
Era. Am I still connected?
Yeah, now you are. You're good now.
Okay. It was about the 18 days or whatever. Let's see. Yeah. See, no, that's different. That's definitely going to be neat. Has anybody seen that movie Axel? It's Russian, I think. Or no, I seen it in Russian. That's why I think it's Russian. It's American. Giant dogs has a tiger, except it's a robot, and it gets coffee spilled on it or something happens to it, and then it gets rogue from when testing. Like they built it and they tested it, and it got coffee spilled on it, so it went rogue. And then It's designed to have to imprint on the soldier that it works with because that's how dogs are and that's how robot dogs should be. So it gets coffee spilled on it and it blanks out its memory. And then some kid is like, gets his friends don't like him because he doesn't have a cool enough dirt bike. So he's out dirt biking by himself, solo dirt biking. And then the robot dog finds him and imprints on him. So now it's his robot dog. And then there's like a hive of drones that are trying to find the robot dog. It's pretty good.
Does he get to ride the robot dog?
No, because he's riding a motorbike all the time. So he rides the motorbike around and the robot dog chases him. So it's kind of lame like that, actually. But if you can deal with that, it's okay. The rest of it, because you get to see this big robot dog. But no, he doesn't ride it like a horse, even though it's basically as big as it would be like He-Man riding that giant leopard or lion or whatever it is. No, tiger.
Tiger. Big green tiger.
Yeah. So it would basically be that scale to a human. Like it was giant, but not quite horse size. But he could have definitely ridden, especially because it's a robot.
But in Jimmy Neutron, he rides his robot dog kind of like a rocket-powered jet ski.
So what I'm hearing, if I get a robot dog soon?
In real life, they're not going to have jets and fly around right away. There's, what was I just watching? Oh no, I wasn't a robot dog. There was I'm watching one of the Star Wars cartoons. There's a set of Star Wars cartoons between the first 3 shitty movies and the middle 3 good ones. And then I think there's another set of Star Wars cartoons after the 3 good ones and before the last ones that they just made a minute ago, I think. And that's the ones I'm watching, I think. And in this one, and it is nothing to do with like Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker and all that. Like they barely have Darth Vader in it. Like it's mostly Star Wars people you never heard of before, or I never heard of before. But in this one, they got little cats that run around. So there's like Star Wars cats that are like Ewoks, except they're Star Wars cats. And then this giant dog that's basically like Mello, except if she was a boy, and the size of a horse. And that thing gets ridden around like a horse. Like 3 people ride that thing. It's not a robot, but it's a giant dog. I don't know if that would be cool or not. You think it'd be cool to have like a giant white wolf, the size of basically a Clydesdale? Like a big
yeah. I'd take that thing everywhere.
Well, it's too big to go into places. And this thing is like basically a Jedi, I guess. I hope I'm not spoiling it for people.
So it's like the size of Clifford or something?
Except it's a Jedi, so it's not like stupid. It's like really smart. So it's like, hey, dog, can I ride your back? Like, no, I'm a professor. Like, why would you want to ride my back?
Oh, okay.
And so it's annoying. Like, you'd want to ride the thing's back, but it's smarter than you. It'd be like, like your grandparent or something. Like, damn. But it wasn't like a peer or like a.
You'd have to be worthy to ride it. You'd have to be another Jedi going to battle.
Oh, no. They've only ridden it once. I mean, I think you had to, like, they did it in an emergency. But the thing I'm just saying, like, it's a possibility. You could have some other giant dog and ride it around. Like, if it was.
What about you? Would you ride a giant dog? Robot dog?
I'm too big. It'd have to be huge. Oh, a robot dog? No, that would look weird. I'd have a motorcycle or a speeder bike or something. I'm not going to ride around on a dog. Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of horses.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a great rider or nothing. There's probably better ways to ride a horse, but if I wanted to jump up and down a bunch of times, like I could do other things. I don't think riding on a robot dog would be all that pleasant. I think it would be bouncy as hell. If it was some sort of robot dog that had some sort of gait where, like,
Yeah, they could stabilize it some way for me, right?
Right. Like if the gait it was like riding a motorcycle, is that be even more smooth? Then maybe. It would look stupid though, but I'd get over it, I guess. You'd really look stupid driving around on a giant robot dog.
I wear Crocs. I don't care. It sounds like fun. I do. Do we think technology is ever going to be so? Because we're down this road. I'm trying to go back to guns. Is technology ever going to be so good at like immobilizing people or harming people or whatever you want to call it, to where guns are not even a thing? Like we just have these archaic things that still go bang, but like a drone that's about the size of your phone that flies over to the bad guy and explodes in their head. So,
Well, I think it'll be more
but
like,
you told me 30 years ago some of the things I have now that I would have told you they're impossible. So how do we know?
no, I mean, I don't think that's impossible. I'm just saying I just don't know if that's practical. Like, why would you buy something and then create it and then throw it away? It would be when they could do something that would have like a ray or a beam that would be used over and over. But yeah, I think I don't know, they'll come up with, obviously keep coming up with crazy stuff. On the other hand, I guess I was thinking that, we're not doomed to repeat our past, right? Like the reason that we ever got to the space or the moon in the first place is because somebody looked up and said, we could go up. Other people have never gone up before, but I am going to go up anyway, right? Or I'm going to at least try to go up. And then people started to succeed, and then they shared their ideas, and now it's not even unknown, right? Now people are born with the understanding that we've been on the moon already. It's not a crazy scientific or sci-fi, whatever. So anyway, we're living in a time where it's just as simple or it's just as possible, I guess, to assume that the future could be people get seriously sick of all this manipulation bullshit, waste of resources, and old people that are doing all the manipulating right now that are in power, they're not going to live forever. So it's eventually they're going to not be there, or at least not be in power anymore. They'll be useless. And unless every one of them did a really good job of teaching their disciples to be their underlings, right? Like perfectly, like then whatever it was that they did and whatever favors were owed that keeps them in power, like that's not going to be there anymore. If somebody knows that somebody slept with JFK or something, like who gives a fuck 10 years from now? You know what I mean? Like that's not dirt that anybody cares about anymore. So I just can't see, the dynamic staying the way it is through a generation. So anyway, I could see the other side of that being like, okay, that was unpleasant and boring, and let's spend a decade not paying attention to politics and letting that stuff just be on autopilot or something. On the other hand, it could go crazy where everybody pays so much attention to it, we get crippled by it. We're just stagnated by it, like constantly worrying about every little thing politicians do. But I just don't see that. I don't know.
You don't see that as the path we're on right now? We meaning like society in general?
No, because they want us to stay home so that they got our attention span. When I don't stay home and I go hang out with people that don't pay attention to the internet, because basically my whole life I've spent being online with people who are online all the time, and then I go offline and hang out with people that almost never go online. I don't know if that's like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I've got lots of friends like that. They are never on any of this.
Okay, so when I talk to them, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just a different world than this stuff. So when they can take all of us and make us go home and not do the stuff we would normally do, well, I mean, we just had Wheeled in here. Now, his didn't correlate with this whole bullshit, but there's got to be a lot of people that, like we were saying, people we know that never go online that are online. I definitely know, we all know people that are doing Zoom meetings and doing live stuff before, that for the last 8 years have never taken anything live seriously and never efforted it at all. So we know that it's shifting people's behavior. So anyway, I guess if you're trying to manipulate and give people fewer options and force people to have a more narrow narrative or something, then forcing them to stay home and get their information through these, basically get their information through holes that you get to put commercials on, as opposed to they can't put a commercial when you go out and bicycle all afternoon. They can't put a commercial on you when you're hunting or fishing or something. But if you can't go fishing or hunting or bicycling, you got to stay home. I guess some of those people are just going to polish their bicycle, but probably they're going to go online and look at bicycle videos, right?
Yeah, we also live in a different world. I go hunting with 4 friends. I look over at them. We're hunting, and all 3 of them are on their damn phone before we started hunting. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. You don't need to know what's going on right now. You'll be fine.
Well, there is that, but then I can only assume because I don't, I don't have that many people that bug me about that kind of shit. But I definitely know people who have others who won't let them have a moment's peace. So it's not that they want to be on their phone; it's just that it's either, hey, where's this at, or are you going to be home in time, or are you sure you're going to be home on time, or what happened to the you were
So
going to
you got
do?
my sister-in-law then. Excellent.
What?
That's you just described my sister-in-law, my brother.
Oh, that's okay. Like, yeah, there's tons of people, and like they don't want to be on the phone. It's just that they can't put it down. So Gabriel's saying, anybody watch Love, Death, and Robots? It is definitely one of the best things out there. Is it on Netflix?
I'll have to check it out.
Did you see the Animatrix?
No.
Which is, so the Matrix, right? The movies. There's three of
Right.
them. I don't remember where it at. I think it might not even be between them. I think it was released between the second and third Matrix. But basically, there's this thing called Animatrix, which is a movie, but it is like, I don't remember if it's 4 or 5. Pink might know. But let's say it's 4 or maybe 5 pieces, like chapters. I shouldn't say chapters. It's 4 cartoons smushed together, and they're one movie. But they're, aside from the fact that they're all interpretations of the Matrix world, they have nothing to do with each other, I don't think. So it's just they decided to make this movie, and they got 5 different animators, and it's 5 different animation styles, and the only thing in common is that they're about the concept of the Matrix, but nowhere near each other. Like, have nothing to do with each other, and it's really neat. It's a lot like heavy metal, or a lot like I don't know, some sort of, what do they call that? An analogy, where they take a bunch of different people and push them together. Anyway, so that's what Love and Death and Robots is an amazing collection of these sci-fi shorts. I think they're 20 minutes or maybe half an hour, 40. I think they're just 20 minutes though. And different animators, different animation styles. They're science fiction stories, and the only thing they have in common is robots, really. But some of the best stuff I've seen in a long time. Well, maybe ever. It's really good stuff. Animation, though. If you like animation and sci-fi, it's awesome. And you can get it, well, I've seen it at the private movie theater. I tried for years to get some to use. They are readily using it, but can detach. Oh, I see what you're saying. I've tried for years to get some to use tech. Now I hear they're readily using it, but can detach. Yeah, see, I don't know. I detach, but I have to detach. I use the damn crap all the time, and I get sick of it, so I detach. But I'm not. I'm using it to do stuff all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting stuff on the internet. I'm not constantly just having conversations and addicted to those conversations, I don't think. In the way that the people that, well, I shouldn't say that they're not necessarily addicted to conversations. They're addicted to some sort of feedback, maybe, like they're reading people's comments on different videos. I don't know, but they're part of some conversations or something that I don't know. Maybe Twitter that's not even really being part of a conversation, is it? I don't really know. Do people just read Twitter, or is it like a giant text chat happening over there?
I think I read somewhere only like 5% of people actually ever type anything into Twitter that have Twitter accounts. It's not very many.
Okay, so it's more of like, oh, look at what they said. Oh, look at what she said about what he said. Oh, look at what he said about what she said about what he said. But really, 1,500 people watched that 3 people say stuff.
That's
that doesn't appeal to me in any way at all.
No. All right, so I think we've solved. We want giant dog robots, and we solved the brace problem. What else we got?
Yeah, don't need braces if you got no NFA. That's how you solve it.
Well, not rid of the ATF. Get rid of the ATF while you're at it.
Let's see. Alcohol. I think that was our first tax ever, right? The Whiskey Rebellion and all that. Tobacco. Nobody even smokes anymore, do they? And then
I feel like tobacco. I think R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris probably have that handled. I don't think we need federal government involved.
I don't even know, what did the ATF do? Probably check to see if there was tax stamp.
Well, alcohol would that have been? When did the ATF start anyway? Was it Prohibition?
The ATF's tough. It's what do you want to say? It's like a snowball. So there was there's various levels of federal law enforcement, and I forget in what order because I'm not really like that interested. But from putting together the different projects and stuff, the ATF started. I don't want to say the Secret Service, like they fell off the Secret Service, or I think the Secret Service was like the first thing, and then it kept getting tasked with things, and eventually it said like that's not us anymore. Like make a new organization for that. So they kept doing that. And I think, again, it started with alcohol because I think the first thing we ever did was the Whiskey Rebellion. That's the first time Washington started a tax to pay for the revolution. And then everybody was like, fuck you. And then he had to call the army to tell a bunch of farmers to pay their taxes on whiskey. So I think that's when something started. It wasn't called the ATF or anything, obviously, but something started. And then I think it was like 70 or something like that they started to mix a bunch of them together and called it the ATF, or called it the ATF, I think, first. Oh no, it was something else first, and then it became the ATF in 1970, and of course then they've changed it like 4 or 5 times and then added the B, or I mean the E at the end.
So basically, all they do now is infringe on regular citizens, right? I mean, that's like 90% of their gig now.
Well, they're tasked with enforcement and regulation, so that means they have to deal with the licenses, the FFLs, and tax stamps, and all the registration of the firearms, and then the laws, and then enforcement of the laws. So they deal with the industry and the application or the use part, but then they're also enforcing compliance, I guess you could say, with all those, everybody in the industry. So you imagine like there's all these audits and shit they're doing. It's like just a massive bureaucracy, because a bunch of metal in this shape is more dangerous than like a hammer, even though technically more people get clubbed to death than rifle shot in the face. But they've decided whatever to keep it, whatever the idea that guns are so dangerous. So there's a lot. I don't know. I never looked at the size comparison or nothing. That might be interesting. How big the different agencies are.
For sure. Are you doing a daily gun show on Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll keep doing them.
I don't think turkeys should be pardoned. I think they should be eaten. I'm not a fan. I don't approve.
Yeah, I'll be on Mopey, and
That whole
Sad.
rigmarole they do every year where they're like, let's pardon the turkey. Like, it's the dumbest thing I ever stopped doing that.
I like Thanksgiving and stuff, I guess. I don't like the food at Thanksgiving at all. Like I quit eating that kind of stuff back in 1989 because of that. Mainly because of Thanksgiving. Like I really don't like eating birds. Don't understand it. But I just hated. I don't really like anything about Thanksgiving. I don't like any of the food from Thanksgiving really. So I've never been like I don't look forward to it or nothing. I'll eat it, some of it, but only because there's nothing else to eat and everybody else has such a passion for it that you know what I mean. Like obviously everybody makes all that crap, so I don't like most of it. So I'll anyway, and then there's nothing going on this year anyway. So I think pretty much we've always had a show on Thanksgiving. I mean, I don't do like an anti-Thanksgiving show or nothing, but I also don't give a crap what people are eating or their pie. I think we'll probably talk about pie, but you know, I don't have kids and I don't have like a giant family of stuff, so it's just another Thursday for me. And again, I'm not trying to be some anti-Thanksgiving thing either, but definitely if there's people out there driving, you know, normally if there's people out driving or having to work, not with the whole weird is you know with the shopping and all that, but you know just normal people that have to get jobs done. I usually try to have a show for people that are you know just on a normal schedule, normal routine. So
way enough.
miss the room solution. Do I just junk drawer my race? Oh, no, we don't. There's nothing about braces yet. All we know right now is that, like during this show, Jared went on and said something about a letter that came from an article on AmmoLand. And AmmoLand's a good source and everything. It's just that, I mean, that's just one reporter or one person that got some kind of info and then reported it. That's not the same as, I don't know, much
Yeah, he
more.
went a little far on that. You all have to do a tax stamp and all that. That's not what they said. They
Yeah, I
said
mean,
that one company has to quit marketing it as something that's been approved by them when it has not.
yeah, so we're not at the
They're
point.
saying they're not going to approve it in the future. They're just saying that we haven't approved yet.
But nobody's saying you have to take it off your guns.
Yeah. But you know, it's a channel. You got to have the Skyfall and all that. You know how that goes.
Saying I think the ATF broke off from IRS. That's where they had the idea as tax stamp. Could have been. Like I said, I think they're. I don't remember if they split or if they were parallel. I have heard people say they should mix. I don't know if I like that. I like the idea of not having them more than anything. You know, the if you want to make the perception that some property is more dangerous than other property, then having a government agency to regulate some property certainly gives it that impression, right? Like, oh well, it must be important if we got to. We don't have a government. I guess we do have. We have a Department of Transportation, but they don't run around with you know law enforcement and the kind of stuff that the ATF does. Like you know, there's nobody running around if your car isn't licensed or if your bumper's too short. I mean, weird stuff that you know something happens and there's consequences like there is with the guns. Even though there's equivalent number of firearms and guns, and there's an equivalent number of accidents and deaths and intentional, you know, as many people as do something weird with a gun to a bunch of people is, you know, they never talk about when somebody does something weird with a vehicle into a crowd or whatever. They act like, well, that's inevitable with this many people and this many cars. Like, that's just, you know, we're lucky this doesn't happen every day. With a firearm, like, oh, it's a big deal. Yeah, and then put it in with devices and explosives. Like, what the hell kind of political garbage was that bureaucracy? Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Like everything, the two vices that kill you and hurt other people and like, you know, create monsters, and then guns and explosives. Ridiculous. The whole thing is propaganda should be removed just because of the stupid thing. It'd be like the Bureau of Gluten's corn syrup and freaking cholesterol.
Where are those guys? They kill more than any of the
Way more. Keep in mind to work third shift and really get to be on live. Right on. Well, see, that's the problem is that we do this show for third shifters because some third shifters get to listen while we're live. But yeah, that's unfortunate if you're working and you can't actually listen while you're working, so that the show that's made for you is not available. But it's good that you're here to be able to jump in today.
This shows a long history of people out there that are at work that are chatting along, and Pants and Yesterday and a myriad of other ones.
Oh, yeah.
And
Well, I tell you what, it is 2:30. Well, it's not 2:30, but we're at the 2 hours and 30-minute mark, and I just noticed that it's colder than hell in here. So I need to go figure out something. I don't think I can do much about it except for go to sleep because it's about to get colder.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to turn in too, G.
So I do appreciate everybody jumping in, especially Barbecue and DJ for jumping in at the beginning when I get all mopey because nobody joins the chats and we don't talk about nothing because nobody's just sitting here looking at each other. So it always gets going when everybody else jumps around. So I don't know if it's, like I say, maybe I should start the show on half an hour later. Then I could go take a nap before the show. But good to see Black Cat's out there. He doesn't get to, very often unless we run late. And then Gunmetal, again, thanks for being able to jump in. Pink is out there. Gabriel had some good stuff to chat about. I'm probably missing people. Oh, Garrett was out there. I don't think I've seen that one. And then Real jumped in. Yawning. But I appreciate everybody for being part of the show. We do the daytime show. There's another one in there already for tomorrow. And then, well, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, the day trip shot was neat. Finally got to check it out today.
Yeah, see, the real goal here is to get some stuff across, right? Some things, some of our adventures or whatever to kind of keep the whole point of going on the adventures, then to be able to share those adventures, so to keep them alive, I guess, or whatever you want to say. But then, there's some stuff that's important, I think. I have a channel with 165,000 subscribers on it. And back when I gave a crap, they didn't give that to me. I had to work to get that. A bunch of people contributed to that. It wasn't my effort alone. Well, you had that, and it was actually at about 167,000, I think, for a while. But again, when we were actually giving a shit and trying to compete with the other sons of bitches who suck. And then, around 14 or something, I got sick of doing that and quit. And we shut the channel down for the most part, and just kept doing our thing. And like I say, in 15 or so, I started to really understand the advocacy part and the importance of it. And now 5 years after that, I feel like there's stuff that can still be done. I'm not delusional. I don't think that there's a finish line. I don't think that we are gonna all hold hands and cross the finish line and be done. But at the same time, we can have some fun while we do the grudge work, right? The work. And anyway, part of that is supporting each other and making each other aware of what's out there, and not just the negative bullshit, the crap that gets people upset and worried and spending money, but supporting the people that are doing good work, even the assholes I don't like. So having a channel with 165,000 subs is a resource, and it's foolish to not, or it's just, I don't think it's worthwhile to have it just sit there. So since this show is pointless, this show is a mess, and it's not appealing, or doesn't fit any of the characteristics that something successful would do on YouTube, I crammed it over here on this channel, well, I leave it over here on this channel. We originally pushed it over here because one of the hosts wanted this channel or this show to make money. And this was the only way we could separate it from the other channel that was really not making money at the time. So have the two different entities. But talking about a Second Amendment group over here, big deal. 7 people are watching it live. Another 3 or 4 people might watch it. You know, this is basically us talking to each other. Putting it over on the 165,000 subs, at least there's a potential for that to get seen or go viral, or at least YouTube is paying more attention to it. We know the mechanisms, the behind the scenes, the nuts and bolts that make the internet work. They understand the difference between having a link, hyperlink, http:// which instigates the protocols to create a link to another place on the internet. Having that on this channel with 1,000 subs and having that link on a channel with 165,000 subs, there's a difference there. So I want to have links to people that are doing stuff and organizations that are valid on that big channel. It's the little step, but it's the kind of little, it's the individual knots and the ties that make the net that allows us to catch fish and feed people in the future. So it's not glory work, but it's something that can be done. So that's one of the reasons I shoved the show over there. But also, like I say, I'm sick of watching the same old, same old. Holy shit. I came onto the scene on the internet back in the days when there was cable television. And on Saturdays, there would be gun shows on cable television. And it was mostly hunting and occasionally like something like Top Shot. But before Top Shot is a ripoff of all those shows that came before it. And they were just like little versions of Top Shot that it was mostly hunters, goofing off about some gun that they got for free. And then everybody, well, not everybody, a couple of people would watch those and maybe go to the gun shop and buy one of those guns. So everybody was happy. Then the internet comes along and either you're doing your own thing completely, coming from MySpace like we talked about, or maybe AOL, or whatever your frustration was with what wasn't out there, and you're trying to create something of yours that's different than anything you'd ever seen before, or you came along and you were just another TV show. You were emulating what you saw on cable TV on Saturdays, and you just kept doing that. And holy crap, there's been a lot of people that just do that. So that's no fun. So I'd like to see the evolution of this stuff and the creation of something new and people taking it and having some fun with it. And that's what that show's supposed to be, is to have some fun and do the things. The Monday is to get people motivated and to talk about the nuts and bolts. Tuesday is to talk about the Second Amendment. There's a lot to talk about there. Each state has its own issues. Again, if we all were aware, we were all pulling a rope together, we wouldn't have issues in any of the small states. It would be challenging to figure out the big states. But can you imagine trying to take out California after we've dealt with New Jersey successfully? Be a whole different situation going into California. Anyway, so we've got a lot of potential out there, and I don't think we're gonna accomplish anything with emulating the past. It'll be with experiencing what's next. So this show and the show on the other channel are designed to kickstart something different. So they're a mess and they're sloppy, but I don't care. They're not whatever the fuck came before. We're going to continue to do them, but we'll see. Hopefully this chat will again become a different thing, like a conversation like you had in the last 2 hours of every chat, as opposed to the first 20 minutes of each chat when I'm just sitting here being mopey because nobody shows up. Let's see. It's been on my screen since 13. I don't know what you're saying, but right on. I don't know what that means. But I think that's a compliment, right? Everybody's quiet, so I don't know if everybody went to sleep or what, but this is a little bit of there at the end. We'll wrap it up. Anybody want to chat or say anything before we head out? Any plugs?
No, I got nothing.
I'll be ready to discuss some media forms and some gun topics therein tomorrow night.
Yeah, like I said, the show's tomorrow. Another early show. Get us started, hopefully. Be back here, same time, same channel.